Hello, everybody. All right, let's get this started. We've got a little feedback here. Let's take that down. There we go. Hi, everybody. How are we doing? It looks a little different today. Make sure everybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Let us know that you can hear me. All right, we got a lot of people joining us. That's awesome. I know it's late. Hello, Alan Lassiter's in there. Hey, Joe Purdue. Hey guys. All right, perfect. You can hear me. So it looks a little different today because we are actually doing this live from the Chief Logan Lodge in Logan, West Virginia. Joe is over here tinkering with a piece of equipment, so he might be tinkering away while we get started here. We're going to let a few people join in on the live stream, give everybody a few minutes to get in here and join us. We want to thank you guys for joining us this late at night on a Sunday. We know it's out of the ordinary for us to do this on a Sunday night at 9:30, but we just had to do it. We were here at the lodge and we were talking to a lady up at the front desk, and she was telling us about the resident ghost here at the Chief Logan State Park Lodge. So we were like, you know what? Let's do a live stream. We're pretty much the only people in the hotel tonight, so we thought we'd do a live stream. Let's see who is here. Hello, Martin Groves. Martin Groves actually came to Wild and Weird Con with Dewey Edwards from Ghost, and they came to see us, and Martin actually spoke. But we'll go into that a little bit later when we talk more about the con and what occurred and what happened. Let's see who else is here. Jonestead Farm. Hello. Hello, Jonestead Farm. It's always great to have you on the stream. Let's see. Katie's here. Katie made that long drive today back to the Carolinas. Cindy Poole. Hey, Cindy Poole. Stephanie Light. Good. We've got a lot of great people here. A lot of familiar faces. That is awesome. The Deuster. We stayed up kind of late last night, just hanging out with Dewey Edwards and just talking. So we kind of had a late start this morning, but that is okay. We had such a blast. Alan Lassiter said, I went to the Bigfoot Festival in Westminster yesterday. How was that Bigfoot Festival? We went a couple years ago. It's more of a street festival type situation, not so much a conference. There's not a lot of speakers, but it's more of a street festival situation. Matt Keene is in the chat. Hello, Matt. I hope you're doing well. Matt actually came to the VIP event that we had on Friday night. He joined us for the night hike, and what we did is we started out here in the lodge, and we discussed kind of the odds and ends, safety, medical kits, the GPS units, and all that stuff. We started out with all of that, and then we went outside. We had 3 stations set up on a trail on the side of the mountain out here. We hiked out there, and first station was night vision. We used our psionics, and we talked a little bit about the Phasm full spectrum cam that we have. And then we moved on to audio. We discussed audio recorders, and we discussed our parabolic microphone setup that we use and how we use it in a stationary format. And then after that, we went to the thermal station. But while we were at the parabolic station, Ron Lanham from Wild and Weird West Virginia actually caught a really cool thermal image. After the broadcast tonight, you guys can run over to his page and see the video of that. But it looked like something bipedal stood up and walked out of the frame, and it looked huge. And the area that it was in was a very, very deep ravine that was straight down. So it's very, very, very unlikely that a person was out there. And it was so dark, and the terrain is so rugged up here in West Virginia that I couldn't imagine somebody, a hunter or anything like that, going down there and actually wandering around out there.
No, this was a deep, deep ravine that was next to an old service road that we were taking the people that were there for the night hike down. And it's a sheer drop. I could have got down there with ropes. But even if I'd gotten down there, I couldn't walk in the dark down there at the bottom. The bottom is littered with just large rocks that have rolled down it over the years, trees
Mhm.
that have fallen. It was so dark. I was trying to come back to the group at one point without a flashlight, just on the level access road, and I couldn't do it just because it was so dark. So,
Yeah.
um, and we were even, you run through all the scenarios. People were like, well, what if it's somebody down there with night vision goggles? Well, we were looking with thermal. There's a little bit of heat generated by night vision goggles.
Mhm.
We would have seen it. It wasn't anything like that. So it was just something bipedal down there walking. I think it's going to end up being a really good piece of evidence when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So
What's really cool is Ron and Joe, Joe Purdue and Ron Lanham with Wild and Weird West Virginia. They just got their AGM thermal, and I think this was one of the first times they actually got to use it out in the
Mhm.
field. And to get such a capture like that is really cool. So I'm just glad that on the night hike that we ran, that something really cool like that happened.
well, we also had it's basically a road that's cut into the side of a mountain. So it's just a sheer drop off. It's been leveled out and then another sheer drop off. And I was actually coming back down and I was hearing something up on my right, which is the elevated part of it. And it's up and there's trees growing out of the side of the mountain and everything. Well, I heard something moving around up there, kind of pacing me. And my my first thought was not that there's like anything out of the ordinary going, but my first thought was like, oh my God, somebody from the tour, from the VIP event has gone up the side of this like mountain and is up there walking around. They're gonna fall down and die.
Yeah.
And we're forever gonna be known as those people who got somebody killed in West Virginia. But we could never figure out what it was. I don't know if it was related to what we were catching below us or if it was just something else completely mundane, but it was just very odd timing that we were catching stuff both above and below us.
I don't
on
know.
that
There's a
hike.
little bit of a clout there that you have a paranormal team that takes a bunch of people out. Somebody somehow gets, rolls down a mountain. We're definitely making cryptozoology dangerous again.
So yeah, so
Martin Groves is in the chat. Hello, Martin. Yeah, Martin. Actually, I had Martin come up and tell his story because my presentation at Wild and Weird this year was the case for the existence of Dogman. I went through the history of Dogman. I went through recent sort of sightings. I went through
notable
notable
cases.
cases that kind of lend to it. And then I talked about our excursions into the land between the lakes, the evidence we've gathered there. And then I ended off with the thing that really convinced me of the actual existence of Dogman, Martin Grove's story. And Martin was kind enough to come up on stage and tell his story to everyone here. And again, every time Martin gets up and speaks, you can hear a pin drop in the room. I think everybody was pretty captivated by it,
Yeah.
and it was very well received. And
Honestly, it stole the show, and it was probably the highlight of the entire conference, to be honest.
yeah,
with you.
and everybody just really enjoyed. I'm pretty sure Martin is exhausted. He's in the chat right now. He's exhausted. Everybody was talking his ear
Yeah,
off.
it's like you had a rock star at the conference with you. And what's weird is that these are mostly like Bigfoot people that are attending this thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're doing a presentation on Dogman.
Yep.
And it was just odd because some of the people knew Martin when he, showed up. There were a few people that were just kind of like shy to walk up. Oh my Lord, it's Martin Groves. But a lot of the people here don't really pay much attention to anything outside of just Bigfoot. So, I'm sure there were people that were a little skeptical when we were speaking, and there's just people that don't follow anything that goes on Dogman related.
Yeah.
And then we bring Martin up, and you could see some people were just kind of going, well, who is this guy? Why are people here really excited for this guy? And then 5 minutes into his story, it's the exact same thing that happened at the Dogman conference. Everybody's just sitting there just riveted. And I'm saying right now, out of all the speakers that were here, it's the only applause I heard. Most people were just, it's a pretty quiet group. And Martin, I think, got the best reception of anybody here.
Yeah, it was really good. And if you haven't heard Martin's story, you can actually read it in his book, Beast Between the Rivers. And you can get that on Amazon. And I'll put a link in the description of this when this goes onto our page so that you can actually purchase his book and read his account firsthand. It's very, very compelling.
Actually, I'm not putting up anti-satellite jammers. The reason why we decided to do a last minute live stream from here, we had talked about doing it one of the nights of the conference, and it was just too busy. The night hike ended up going like way over our scheduled time just because of the activity we were having. And we honestly didn't expect to have any activity. I mean, this is a pretty desolate area. And there's been sightings in and around here, but what are the odds? So we ended up having some weird stuff happen. So we ran way over, so we couldn't do it that night. And then by the time the conference was done yesterday, everybody was just wiped up.
We were exhausted.
And the place we were going to live stream from, everybody's still breaking down. So it just made it too noisy. So we were like, hey, we're just going to live stream when we get home.
Yeah.
So we are, everybody else has left. We're the only people left in the conference here that I know of.
Yeah, we're definitely I think we're the last people from the conference for sure. And we are one of, I think only like 3 rooms have people in them in the entire lodge.
So the lodge is empty, but we were talking to the lady at the front desk, and we just kind of told her why we were here this weekend. She starts telling us about part of the hotel that's supposedly haunted. And we had actually had a really kind of strange experience while we were here, not necessarily ourselves, but somebody had told us about something that we didn't really put any import behind at the time. And then as soon as she started telling us about the activity in this part of the hotel, we were like, wow, that makes sense. There was a family here with a younger boy, and we have all of our equipment out on a table, and Jessi and I are explaining like the function and the use of it. And it's pretty cool because it's how people, some of the stuff that they see on TV, they can actually see in person, see how it's actually used.
Yeah, that's one thing about like our presentation at this particular conference, and probably in conferences going forward, if we do participate in them, is that we bring all of this equipment that people don't generally get an opportunity to get hands on with. So we had all of that out on the table, and we had the tri-field running. And go on, you can finish your story.
So the young boy is here. He's here with his parents, and he leaves, and we're kind of milling around the table talking to people. He's standing in the corner of the wing we're in right now, over in the corner, just talking. And I'm like, what's that kid doing? So he comes back over to us. He's a young kid, and he goes, hey, she wants you to come over here. And I thought he meant his mother. And I'm going, well, his mother's not over there. His mother's over here talking to Martin Groves, of course, like everybody else here. And he goes, she's tapping. She keeps tapping. She wants you to come over here. And I'm like, oh, what is this kid talking about? And then he points at like our tri-field EMF detectors, and he goes, red, they're all turning red. And I'm like, why are my tri-field meters like all going off? So we're up there, and the receptionist tells us about this haunted hotel, part of the hotel. And there's a lady standing there next to us, and we're trying to get out of her way. She's got business to take care of. And then she starts going, this hotel is haunted. My husband keeps hearing tapping in our room. I keep hearing tapping while he's asleep. And the receptionist is like, yeah, there's tapping that goes on in this part of the hotel. We never figure it out. At night, when she's here late at night, she hears tables and chairs moving around. So we figured we'd come down here and live stream in the supposed haunted part of the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep some stuff running. I took baseline readings of all of the signal that a lot of our equipment doesn't put off much of anything. But I've got a tri-field meter, a low-level EMF detector, and then I've got an RF spectrum analyzer set to a certain band. And we're just going to kind of keep an eye while we do this and see if anything weird happens, if anything shows up on the instrumentation, or if we hear anything pretty cool. So we'll see.
Catch says, that's Katie. She goes, God, I wish I'd known. Dewey and I could have gone ghost hunting. Yeah, we didn't know that there was actually a ghost. And they told us, did you mention the name of the ghost while you're talking? So some of the staff told us that the name of the ghost that they call Patricia. So apparently when anything goes awry here, and the kitchen area is very active, and this particular wing of the hotel where we are right now is very active, but when things start going awry, they blame it on Patricia. And we're actually in the area, we're in the corner of the area where the vendors hall is, and where the conference area is, where we gave the talk and everything. That the lady over at the front desk says she'll sit there at night. She does the overnight shift. She'll sit there and she hears tables and chairs moving over here when there's absolutely nobody else in the lodge down here at all, that there's nobody here. And she knows that for a fact. And she hears tables and chairs kind of clanging around, knocking on tables. So yeah, so this is obviously something that's very, very active in this hotel. So we're going to see if Patricia wants to come and make an appearance while we're doing our live stream tonight.
Shane Powers had asked if we'd seen the Australian Yowie research thermal footage of those 2 Yowies behind the tree. I saw some footage from Australia that was thermal, but I can't remember if that's it. You can always leave a comment on the video with like a link to it, because I'd love to see it. Thermal imaging, I think, is like the big game changer for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we were on our last little jaunt we went out with. I was like, oh my god, this is the great equalizer when it comes to this kind of work. Using thermal imagers is the great equalizer because absolutely nothing can hide from us. I said that in the LBL because when we were hearing those voices, I didn't know if there was other researchers out there, if it was somebody from the Dogman conference, but we didn't see anybody, but we were hearing voices, but we didn't want to stick around just in case, all of our evidence gets corrupted by other people in the area. But you can just see straight through the woods and see if there's anybody or anything else around. So the thermal imager is definitely the great equalizer when it comes to this kind of work.
Dogman. Martin Groves creating change one conference at a time.
That's true.
It was great. It was absolutely great.
Martin did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, we just we put him on the spot too because he and Dewey, the Dooster, showed up. We didn't think they were showing up. We found out right before the conference started that they were coming up. And then we had a whole presentation drawn up for Jessi to do, and I ran the slides, so I helped. But
I helped.
We asked Martin at the last minute if he wanted to pop up, and he's just like a pro, man. He's up there, I mean, and just gave a real condensed version of his story. But you could just see people afterwards, man, and then when he wasn't here, people were coming up to our table going, where's that guy you guys had talk, and I'm like, he's around here somewhere, but you can buy his book. You can find his account more in depth in American Werewolves by Small Town Monsters. So, and that was the idea, is to a lot of the people that are into Bigfoot are only into Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And the idea was to maybe kind of show them that there's some legitimacy to the Dogman phenomenon that maybe they're unaware of, and that they just associate it with some of the more sensational kind of just, overly dramatized type accounts that seem to become the public face of this phenomenon.
And you can't fault anybody for having that kind of view at this point, because I think you and I had that view early on, that the public facing view, or the public facing of this phenomenon was like creepypasta, There was a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then we looked deeper into the phenomenon, and turns out that there's a lot more legitimacy to it than we expected. So yeah, it's come a long way in my mind. I'm definitely a believer now. I'm definitely convinced.
Well, I mean, the when people hear Dogman, unless they've already got a familiarity with the whole concept of it, they're not really aware of some of the more credible cases, the history to it, the fact that the repetition between different cases, people seeing not always the exact same thing, but a fairly small grouping of the same thing. And the fact that, I mean, we talked a lot about Kentucky, and the fact that Kentucky, for such a relatively small regional area, has so many names for what we consider Dogman, Waddy Werewolf, the Gateway Werewolf, Barilla, the Red River Gorge Dogman, just all of these things at a relatively small area.
Well, also all of these ongoing attacks in this area, and like it's going on up until this day. There's been no resolution to a lot of these mysterious animal attacks. They're just written off as maybe large cat attacks, or they're written off as mysterious dog attacks. But then there's no follow-up to any of these cases. And it seems like this is happening more and more in Kentucky than hardly anywhere else that we look into.
Hey, Nighthawk, High Strangeness, watching us instead of Dogman. I think I saw we hopped on social media real briefly to put up a thing on this after we decided to do it. I think I saw that you were out either tonight or last night. So hopefully you were being safe and getting some good evidence out there. So
we've got Cricket in the chat. Cricket. So we got, hello, Cricket. We've got a lot of friends from back home in the chat. It is really nice to see some familiar faces in here when we're far away.
What the flock do you think people that have paranormal experiences are more susceptible to having encounters with cryptids?
I think so. I think that you are ultra aware, and perhaps you've opened yourself up to the possibility of these things existing. And when you are opened up to it and you're receptive to it, then it's almost like a light switches on. It's almost like these things can now know that you're aware of them. And then the more you kind of look for them, the more they come and find you.
I'm going to say that I think that all of it's a lot more entwined than what people think. And that you might think that you're having a Bigfoot encounter in the woods when you were having what we would consider paranormal encounters. I think, yeah, but I think that I think some people are more predisposed to having that sort of activity around them than others. I've spoken openly about it before. I can go out by myself and I've never had anything happen other than the first thing that happened when I was a kid. But when I'll go into like an active area without Jessi and nothing happens. I mean, nothing happens at all. I take her and then my odds of something happening are greatly increased. Um, Other people seem to have that same ability. I think Martin Groves has that ability. Dewey Edwards has got that ability, man. Dewey Edwards busting his phone out at the conference, just going, "Let me show you some ghost pics," and he's showing me the craziest stuff I've ever seen, and I'm just going, well, "This just keeps happening to you?" Yeah, it happens around the house,
You know, and Dewey has all of the stuff that he's put together.
Yeah.
He's building all of this ghost detection and ghost hunting equipment. He's building his own SLS camera. He's built his own little teddy bear that he uses for investigations that goes off if anything comes in contact with it. You watch James Bond movies. Is it
Q?
Q?
Yeah,
Q makes
Dewey
all the
Edwards is
little gadgets
Q of the paranormal world.
Yeah,
there,
we're
so,
gonna hire Dewey Edwards to be the Q of Hellbound Holler.
That'd be pretty cool. Just have this like extended like Hellbent Holler team.
Yeah.
And like Dewey's like the tech guy out in the van, and he just comes in
He's
every
like,
once
I've
in a
got a
while.
new instrument that I've made for you all.
Yeah, exactly.
Now
So
be careful when you try it in the field.
yeah. So all right. Zach had said Tennessee is very wild with Dogman, Bigfoot. The Smoky Mountains is a very creepy place in certain spots. Yeah. The whole Appalachian range is extremely creepy. And that's the thing because again, we focus mostly on the southern Appalachians from down here. And it's literally almost every single person we've talked to up here that we've told them what we're doing has stopped us and given us a story since we've been up here.
Yes.
People in restaurants, people that work in the hotel, everything like that. Everybody's just got a story far more than other areas than we operate in.
Yeah.
So again, that's a pretty small sample size, but it just seems like everybody's got a story. And you know, the Smoky Mountain National Parks are something that we always hear about. People, for some reason, whenever people are telling us there's nothing out there, it's always the Smokies that they go, where I'm in the Smokies all the time. I never see anything.
Yeah, but you're on the Cades Cove Trail.
Yeah, you're on a populated trail, or you're like overwatching the elk with like the other 300 tourists that are in there that day. You're not going out there and just breaking through the brush and going into some of these areas where people don't normally go to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, you know, people who will just go, oh, I love Mexico. I love everything about Mexico. They've been to like one resort.
They've been to Cancun.
Yeah, they've never eaten any like real local food. They've never met anybody really locally. They just know that one spot. I mean, until you get out of there, areas where everybody else is, you don't really know that area. So
Bigfoot Society.
Oops,
oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
You go ahead. You got Alan Lassiter up there. Go for it.
All right. So Alan asked for getting ready to search into the Boone area. Be careful, man. Be careful. So
yeah, we've gotten Dogman reports. That's actually that strip of land right down through North Carolina is where we initially got a bunch of Dogman reports that led us to actually looking into the subject more seriously and led us to eventually going to the LBL and finding what we found there and started us on this very strange Dogman trajectory that we're on right now. So good luck on your journeys into Boone, North Carolina, because it's a pretty active area from what I hear. Yeah. Bigfoot Society says, sounds like you guys had a great weekend. Heck yes, Hellbent Holler. Yes, Bigfoot Society, we had a great weekend. We really enjoyed ourselves. We had a great weekend out here. We always like coming out to West Virginia.
Trying to place this somewhere where I can see it.
You got another one?
Yeah, I'm getting 2 point. It's tripling up every once in a while, but we'll see. All right. Gazal, hello. How are you, sir? Good to see you. So
Deuster says, my sensor lights kept going off in my room most of the night. Maybe it was Patricia. Sure. Yeah. See, we didn't know about the possibility of Patricia up until today, really. So we could have actually done some experiments out here. We have all this equipment.
And we've had so many people tell us, we went and checked out the cemetery for, is it the Hatfields or the McCoys today?
The Hatfields, yes. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, there was a lady that was kind enough to stand and talk to us for a little while at the event that was telling us that she'd had some like really up close Dogman sightings there. We were thinking about going there tonight, but it's raining pretty heavy right now.
Yeah.
So we couldn't take a lot of the equipment out with us. And then we heard about the possible activity in the hotel. So we were just like, hey, let's do it indoors, man.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So we actually took a little field trip today. We drove around. We did like a nice big loop. We went down to the Hatfield Cemetery where Devil Anse Hatfield is buried, and went to his grave. Checked that out. We wandered all through the woods around there too, and there are graves just deep in the woods. Like there's the main cemetery area where they have that big Devil Anse statue on top of his grave, and then off from it in like either direction there are graves like in the woods. There's like roots coming up through all these old graves, so it's a really really cool old cemetery. So if you get a chance to come up near Logan, West Virginia, I do suggest you go check out the Hatfield family cemetery because it is very very cool. It's very interesting.
yeah.
And you have to climb like straight up this hill, this like rocky hill
Excuse me.
to get up to it. But we got up there and we're like, oh, okay, all right, we're here. And then we're walking around, and then all of a sudden it just starts raining. It just started pouring the rain.
Yeah.
So but it
Bigfoot
was
Society
awesome.
mentioned wanting to have Martin Groves on his podcast. Yeah, if you need to get in touch with Martin and you cannot find him on, I'm sure you can find him on Facebook, but if you have any trouble getting in touch with him, just let me know and we'll get you in touch with him.
Yeah.
It's you know, a lot of times we sound like a broken record with some of the stuff that we say, but I told pretty much anybody that would listen, including Joe and Ron from Wild and Weird, I was just going, hey, listen, I mean, regardless of what you're into, what little sliver of the weird you're into, ghosts, UFOs, you know, physical type entities, Martin's the most credible witness that we've
Yeah.
had come out in recent memory, or like for a long time, as far as his account goes. So it's extremely important that a lot of times something that plagues this field is people that just for whatever reason can't share a lot of their own information.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did that go off?
yeah, but they can't share a lot of their own information for whatever reason. And maybe it's a personal choice. Maybe they can't because they feel that it would impede upon their personal life. Maybe they're being a little duplicitous. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But you know, Martin Groves is just like, hey man, here's my name, here's where I worked at. You know what I'm saying? You know,
here's my resume.
Here's my resume. You know, he's just upfront, and then he's just like, and here's what happened to me. You know, no embellishment, no trying to like do anything, but just straight up, just this is what happened to me, and here it is. And we've heard him tell his account multiple times, and it's the same story. You know what I'm saying? You know, so he's a phenomenal witness, and I think that people who listen to him walk away maybe even more open-minded than they were before.
I think so. Yeah, that's why he was such a integral part of my presentation. He was an integral part of me finally accepting that Dogman is real.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was kind of the final nail in that coffin for me.
Yeah.
Cricket Louise, my girl, says, I've seen a condensed spirit walk out of a closet and into an antique mirror in my home in New Orleans. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I lived in like a 200-year-old carriage house that was converted into a home, and it was a 2-story. It was it was in the French Quarter. It was on Conti Street, but it was behind the main house. And at one point in time, the upper level, I think, was a slave quarter, and the lower part was a stable. And one time in the middle of the night, I was awakened by like a sound in the hallway, and I opened my bedroom door, and there was a black horse standing like on the landing, and we're upstairs, you know, and in the house, and it was like standing on the landing. So that was really weird. And I had a lot of like supernatural, weird, psychic things happen in New Orleans.
New Orleans is just weird in general.
The energy itself is
the energy's not good.
The energy is not good,
and it's just so bizarre. And I mean, it's almost like you're watching like an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something like that. Sometimes just all the different people down there.
Everybody is, it's like Buffy, but if everybody's like drunk.
Yeah, so. Exactly. but I mean, just that, you know, you'll meet people down there who are like, you know, multi-generational witches from Salem, you know, who have come down there to open a witchcraft shop. Or one of my good friends was head of one of the largest voodoo organizations down there. And I actually didn't even know that when I first met him. I'd known him for years before I found that out about him. But that's just the sort of people you meet down there, man. Had a really odd circle of friends down in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Timothy Firth had said the bad thing about cryptid hunting on public property and the sticks is rednecks. If they see something different than most folks have on or use in the woods, they just can't help but make howls or screams. Yeah, we try to go to places where nobody else is just for that noise contamination. And when people ask us what we're doing, we will generally, if we're like in a new area and maybe we're stopping to get gas or something, we just tell them that, yeah, we're just, we have a YouTube channel where we do like hiking and stuff like that.
And that's what we tell people if we
yeah.
ever run across anybody out in the woods too. We have like camera equipment and stuff. We're like, oh, we have a hiking YouTube channel because we don't want anybody out there trying to mess with us and contaminate our evidence in any kind of way. And that's why we go to very, very remote areas, because we don't want that contamination of evidence to occur.
Yeah, not sure about the interaction between the Dogman crew and the Bigfoot crew. Maybe more cross communication would be a benefit. I think that's true for every facet of the very fractured overall paranormal type thing.
And I talk about this a lot, that it seems like it's for so long, it's been so compartmentalized. You've got your UFO people, you've got your ghost people, you've got your Bigfoot people, you've got your Dogman people. But I think that if there's so many commonalities between all of these phenomenon, that if we put these things together and everybody starts looking into these things and sharing information, sharing techniques, sharing everything, maybe we can get a little further when it comes to this subject.
And it's human nature. I mean, up until just fairly recently, I mean, I was just interested in like Bigfoot. I didn't really pay that much attention, and I told that to several people during the conference that when you start to experience certain things, you can do one of two things. You can either pitch out that experience because it doesn't fit in with your preconceived notions of what's real, or you can re-examine those preconceived notions and be honest with yourself and go, okay, there's a lot more stuff out there than what I was willing to admit before. And after that, you're having to play catch up. I mean, I was never really into like the whole UFO phenomenon. I mean, I had a passing interest in it. I mean, I was familiar with like some of the major stuff, but you start seeing the parallels between a lot of this stuff. And you start seeing the parallels between what people consider just the paranormal, i.e. ghosts and UFOs, UAPs, physical creatures running around on the ground that aren't supposed to exist. And you have to kind of take a really broad look at all of it. And you kind of have to be conversant in a lot of different fields to kind of get understanding of maybe what you're looking at that particular time.
And a lot of different disciplines. Like since we've started going into all this equipment, and you've really done a deep dive into infrasound, and all of this equipment that we've gotten and we've been working with over the past few months, and really ramped up our equipment and our data collection. He's really taken a deep dive, and he's had to learn about being, a sound engineer and electrical engineer.
It's
I think it's like this cross-discipline thing where you have to just learn about everything.
I always tell people that if we ever decide for whatever reason to get out of this, that just the education that we've gotten along the way. I mean, just like learning how to use all of this equipment, and then just as far as like electromagnetism, infrasound, everything like that. But that wasn't something that we really focused on a lot. And when I was just flat out looking for Bigfoot. So hopefully I think that as people get less fractured and they stop looking at just narrow slivers of this overreaching phenomenon, that maybe we'll start getting some movement, because again, you get a Bigfoot hunter who's out and they hear the person mentions that there were strange lights in the sky, that may or may not make it into like their final report, or that may or may not that might just get kind of tossed out to the side because it doesn't fit their narrative. Same thing with a UFO hunter. UFOs, they get a UFO report and they come up and they hear about strange hairy creatures on the wood line around the house, that might get pitched out because they might think that's just a step too far.
Yeah.
So hopefully more and more people become open to everything with this. And then, like I said, we might actually get some movement with it. So
I think Joe Purdue got off the chat. He did go, but Joe, thank you for inviting us to Wild and Weird. But thank you for putting that on and inviting us to speak. We really appreciate you having us. So
hold on a second. Tiffany Keeling, I heard something cool. I heard that you all might be hooking up with Vault of Nightmares to do an investigation at the LBL. We've heard that.
We've heard.
We haven't really talked to Vault much. I mean, I popped on his live stream a couple times just to say hey, but we haven't really talked to him since the conference. So
that's not really a discussion we
haven't really spoken to him about anything on that yet. So we're going to probably reach out to him and try to try to see what's going on. But yeah, some people had mentioned that to us, but we haven't really had a chance to talk to them since the conference. So, but like I said, we'll track them down and get in touch with them, see what's going on with it. So
We're rolling on through.
David Hunt, hello, sir. I think there's a connection between it all. Cryptids to UFOs. Yeah, I think that there is. I think that I'm not saying that every Dogman sighting or every Bigfoot sighting has anomalous lights or UFOs or associated paranormal activity, but a lot of them do, and vice versa. A lot of the other things there's a lot of cases that you go into where there's just a lot going on and you have to kind of dig for it a little bit sometimes. Somebody might contact us, concerning something they saw in the woods. I saw this thing in the woods. This thing had terrified me. I saw it in the woods. You take it through that. Well, what else happened that day? Well, I don't think it's important, but I was hearing these weird noises. Take me through those noises. It sounded like something was beating on a sheet metal roof out there. Are there any houses near there? Nope, not at all. Okay. You think that might be odd? Well, it can't be associated with the Dogman activity. That doesn't make sense. So I think there's a lot more people out there who have these really broad experiences that just maybe one facet of it sticks out to them.
Yeah.
And they themselves kind of discard the other stuff because that one facet of it was just so, made such an impression upon them. So
Jonestead Farms says, agree, Joe. My LBL experience felt paranormal in nature, especially with the shadow figures. Seems like more people are coming forward and talking about shadow figures in the LBL. We've talked about our experiences with, I wouldn't say shadow figures because what we saw was solid.
Yeah, what we saw move the branches.
But colloquially, I think shadow figure is a descriptor that you could use for it.
Yeah.
There's definitely some sort of dark entity running around the peninsula, and we both have seen evidence of that. Bigfoot Society says, just talk to Larry Sidwell for the podcast on how he had a Bigfoot and orbs encounter in the LBL. Crazy stuff. Yeah, LBL is not just famous for Dogman or, it's famous for Dogman, but there's a lot more going on in the LBL than just Dogman activity. And a lot of people have discussed that there is a Bigfoot element in the south and the Dogman in the north. I think it's everything all over. We've both had what seems to be Dogman activity, paranormal, ghost-like activity. We've seen lights, we've seen orbs, we've gotten EVPs, we've gotten all kinds of stuff out there. So I think it's just up and down the peninsula is just a hotbed of paranormal activity.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, that, there's a lot of attention paid to Skinwalker Ranch because of the variety and breadth of the odd activity that goes on there. And I'm just like, come on, man. Kentucky's basically like a statewide, state-sized Skinwalker Ranch, man. There's like a little bit of everything going on in there. North Georgia's like that, that spot in North Georgia has just like a mind-boggling array of just weird stuff going on. So I believe this is Ron on Wild and Weird. Had no idea about the ghost, but last year we kept hearing something in our room moving. Things to keep in mind for next year. Yeah, like I said,
we were actually talking to the lady at the front desk, and there was a lady who's staying here at the lodge, and she was waiting to pay for her snacks that she was buying, and she was listening to us talk to this lady at the front desk about this, and she goes, you know what, this morning at about 6 a.m. I woke up, I thought my husband had woke up and was on his phone because I hear this clicking. She goes, I thought he was on his phone texting, because it sounded like, the haptic feedback kind of thing and the noise that happens whenever you're texting or typing on your phone. She goes, it was just a tapping, and she could not find the source of it. She said her husband was just fast asleep next to her, and she goes, it went on and on and on, and it just sounded like a tapping, but in a pattern sort of way. So it seems like a lot of people are having these paranormal experiences on this lodge.
Yeah, exactly. And we're getting weird.
You're getting weird readings?
Weird EMF spikes occasionally. So,
all right, let's see here.
Of course, I can't see it then with the screen, but oh well. David Kunstad said, Jessi, I love that Skinwalker tattoo. That's from Timothy Renner, actually. The guy that does Strange Familiars podcast.
My Wendigo Skinwalker tattoo. Yes.
He's like a quadruple threat. He does a great podcast. He does all of his own music, does all of his own art. He writes books. So yeah, he's like the Renaissance man of the paranormal set. If you have never checked out Strange Familiars, he's great. The books that he writes are extremely. They've had a huge influence on us and on kind of helping us kind of expand our perspective on what these things might be. So
Mm-hmm. Dumpster Diving Dogman says, last week my older brother disclosed a swamp beast encounter from 30 years ago. He's the last person that I'd expect to hear this from. My uncle always used to make fun of us for what we do. He just would poke fun of us all the time about it. And then one time he goes, well, there was this one time we were camping, and I'm from the edge of the Pisgah National Forest. That's where I grew up. And he was out in the Pisgah National Forest, and they were out there camping. And he got up to like go to the woods and to go to the edge of the woods and take a leak. And he said he's standing there, and in the woods there's this pair of red glowing eyes. And I was like, oh, well, how high up were they? He goes, oh, they're about 8 or 9 feet up. And I was like, you don't think this is weird that you're in the woods and you have red glowing eyes? They're glowing from within and they're 8 or 9 feet up. You don't think that's weird? He goes, yeah,
I guess it
I
is.
guess it is.
But I just told it, don't bother me and I won't bother you, and just went back to camp. And I'm going, well, I mean, obviously, what do you
like
think
you
that
just-
was? I
yeah.
don't know. But it wasn't Bigfoot because Bigfoot's silly.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, okay, so it's that other thing that has, 7 or 8 feet tall with red glowing eyes with no light source. So, well, like I said, that's people's filter. Some things are just completely just beyond their own reality, to the point that they just, even if it's literally staring them in the face, they won't admit it. So,
yeah, you talk about the boggle factor, and I think that's
boggle threshold.
The boggle threshold.
Boggle threshold is that threshold that your mind will go right up to that line, and one side of the line it'll believe it, but once you cross that line, it's completely out. So you might believe in Bigfoot, but the idea of Dogman completely just unacceptable. I can't accept that. You might believe in ghosts, but the idea of UFOs, it's over your boggle threshold. Your mind boggles at that point, and you just don't believe it. You're unwilling to listen to anything like that because it's so far outside what reality means to you.
Jay Myers, we're gonna translate this a little bit. How long do you see yourself doing the search for the cryptic creature? As long as it takes. I don't think we're ever gonna have any answers.
Yeah, there's really no.
I don't think there's ever any resolution to this.
There's no end game in mind. I mean,
No.
that'd be great, but I mean, no matter, even if we were to, I mean, we've already proved it to ourselves. We've proved to ourselves that things that we thought were impossible are very, very real. We don't really, and that's why you don't really see us. We don't really try to convince people a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we just put out our stuff, and if people just don't believe, they just don't believe, so we're not out really to try to convince anybody of anything or sell anybody anything or do anything like that. So a lot of it's just for our own curiosity. I mean, we want to know what's going on out here as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, if by the time this is all over and done with, and hopefully we know a little bit more than we do right now, and that'll be considered a win, you know.
Zach says it's very rare Dogman and Bigfoot in the same area. Bigfoot is very territorial. According to Martin Grove's story, that
I don't think
is
that's
not the case.
I don't think that's as rare as what people think.
And
I think
it's
that
not just Martin's story. Other stories
Other
have
stories too.
seen them together and seen them possibly working in tandem.
And I've said this before on our podcast that up until recently, Dogman just wasn't part of the public discussion as far as like physical entities in the woods. It's gotten much more well known now, but I think that over the years that people were seeing strange things and they were reporting it as Bigfoot because that's what they expected to see in the woods. You're out in the woods, you see something extremely tall and this tall, dark, hairy figure that moved blindingly fast. They're going to think it's a Bigfoot. If they report it to any group, well, there were only Bigfoot groups around. They're going to take it as a Bigfoot report.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a lot of those Bigfoot reports, if you look at them and maybe they weren't seeing Bigfoot all along, they may be seeing Dogman. And I think that they've been seen in the same spot. I mean, there's been this story that there's some sort of conflict going on between the two groups, but at least in my own experience, when you look at those a little bit closely, sometimes it just seems like that's a product of wishful thinking. And
It
then
sounds like a Star Warsification of things, where
yeah,
there's this epic battle between.
yeah, but then you look at like Martin Groves's account, and even Martin Nunley with the Spotsville Monster to a certain extent,
Mhm.
and then other people that we've talked to, and it just seems like they're working in tandem sometimes.
Yeah, and
So
you've heard it in several stories.
yeah.
Thank you, Dumpster Diving Dogman, for the $10 super chat.
Hey, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
We missed you guys. Yeah, we've been busy preparing for this conference for the past couple of weeks, so we didn't do a live stream this past week. And we were like, okay, so we are definitely going to be late getting home tomorrow. So we wanted to make sure we got a live stream in, and we were just really we thought this would be the perfect place to have a live stream.
Exactly.
So we appreciate everybody that's joining us tonight.
Yeah.
I know it's off schedule and it's not quite the normal day we do it, but we're probably going to be getting home super late on Monday, so I don't see us getting everything unpacked.
We
and
might,
doing a
though.
live
You might
stream.
actually get 2 live streams in 2 days.
You might get 2 live
Yeah,
streams
we
in
missed
2
doing
days.
this, and we really appreciate the donation. The stuff that we got before the conference, we actually used for a backup power supply for the infrasonic detection equipment.
Yes.
I showed that on a previous live stream. We've been testing that out. Now, we were testing it in a building around a lot of electrical equipment. A hotel is not going to really give me the best readings. I mean, there's low level infrasound in a lot of places, but we were able to kind of show that off this weekend to some people that attended, and kind of show them what it's capable of, and that we're going to really looking forward to getting that out in the field and see what we find with it. Like I said, I mean, I go back and forth on the infrasound thing, man. I mean, I know what infrasound is capable of doing in nature and in a lab, and then maybe that's what's causing all of these effects. Maybe it's infrasound plus something else. We're going to find out. We're going to get out and test for it. And the whole idea is that we're not going to come back. It's not going to be a smoking gun no matter what we get, but it'll maybe help us kind of narrow our search, or maybe kind of point us in the right direction to find out more and better things at this point. With that infrasound detection equipment that we have, like I said, that guy made it portable for me. I can slap a 9-volt battery in it. And if we're in one spot and we're detecting infrasound, and we go north and it gets weaker, and then we go south and it gets stronger, or we're going to keep going south. So hopefully that will maybe let us zero in on whatever is making it. So we'll see. Like I said, it's just neat. It's not anything. It's something that nobody else is really doing right now. We want to, and that's what we want to do. Not everything we're gonna try is gonna work, but you've got to try new stuff with this, man. I mean, it's we're never going to be the people that you just see videos of just out banging on trees with sticks and like howling. There's enough people doing that. It's been done for long enough. We're not going to be able to add anything to the field by doing that. So I think if you were to say that there was one thing we were really good at, it's being kind of curious and creative and trying just new stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
asking questions and not being afraid to change opinions. I think once you gather new information and new data, it's okay to adjust your theories. That's part of it. That's part of the process. If you just have a theory or a narrative that you go by and you just stick to it for years and years and years, despite having onslaughts of new information thrown at you, then what are you doing? I mean, you are not taking this seriously, and you're not taking the process seriously. You're parroting an agenda, you're parroting a narrative. And I don't think that that's constructive. I mean, you can do what you want, but
and I'm all for people doing stuff that we don't even. There may be things that I just go, we're not interested in doing that. But if somebody else wants to do it, knock yourself out. I mean, we were talking about this weekend, just that we need a lot of different people with different views and different approaches and
different abilities, different perspectives.
And I can completely disagree with you 100% as far as your perspective on this stuff, and you can completely disagree with me. But I still wish you all the best of the luck. And if you were to come up and you have solved it, well, then guess what? We'll go, hey, you were right. But yeah, we need people out there that just take an extreme spiritual view, an extreme personal view. Hey, I think they escaped from a government lab. Let's investigate all of those avenues, and maybe we'll kind of figure out the path to go to at that point. So.
Yeah. Bullish Bowser says, "Hi guys, have you had any interaction with Native American tribes? If no, do your plans include talking with them?" We have interviewed and talked to several members of several different tribes.
And guess what? They're just like everybody else.
Yeah, they have the
They,
same kind of opinions that we do about a lot of these things.
but some of them don't believe at all. It's not like there's
Mhm.
one monolithic. Just because you're Cherokee doesn't mean you believe. We've got somebody from the Catawba tribe that's near us that is very conversant with all of this, and his father is an elder, and it doesn't believe in it. The father doesn't believe in it, but the son
No.
does.
Yeah.
And it's so yeah, we've talked to them, and it's just like everybody else. It's not, they're not a monolithic, you know, in their beliefs and everything like that. But we've talked to, especially in our area, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of the Cherokee legends, stuff that the Cherokee reported, still going on to this day. You know, they might have different names, but it's still the same stuff. These things that people are reporting aren't new inventions. They're seeing the same stuff that people have seen since there were people around to see it. So
Oh yeah. Existers revitalization. There we go. Dark Waters recently gave y'all props for doing field research in LBL. It was good content. Yeah, we really appreciate Dark Waters and his shout outs. I value his opinion highly. And yeah, I mean we do that. We go out there, we do the work, we go on the ground, and it's not just sitting here parroting. We're boots on the ground investigators. You can go and look at my videos.
yeah,
I'm in the woods.
yeah. I mean,
So
we may not, like I said, we don't really have all the answers that a lot of people seem to have, but I mean, we're out there looking, and
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's what we've got enough people collecting stories at this point. There's value to that, definitely. But we need more people out there. We need more people out there beating the bushes at this point, man. That's why we
but don't beat the trees.
yeah,
Um,
don't beat the trees. But
Stephen Taylor
good one,
says,
Jess. Damn. So
"Yeah,
anyway,
ew."
but yeah, we need more people out there. So if there's anybody ever that's really has a serious interest that wants to do this stuff, and we can offer you, again, we can't offer you any advice about the creatures, but as far as like some of the research methodology, I think
Mhm.
we've got down pretty well. So
Yeah, and I have a whole presentation on getting into research and research methodology, and I think I'm going to do sort of I haven't decided what format I'm going to do it on, but sort of a compendium. I don't know if it's going to be videos or if it's going to be some sort of like written thing. I might write it into a book. I don't know. But I was going to make that available if we eventually launch like a Patreon or something
yeah,
early next year. I was going to make that one of the first things that I release with that is a very, very comprehensive field research guide, basically. Stephen Taylor says, I was heading into Dover today and saw some kind of grayish blur heading into the woods. I was in my truck and it was cab high and my truck is lifted. It was weird. I hope you're doing well, Stephen Taylor, by the way. It's nice to see you again. Yeah, we have seen so many weird, just like every time we drive through the LBL. And for anybody who doesn't know, Dover is in Tennessee. It's south of LBL. The southern edge of the LBL it juts up right to Dover, Tennessee. And but we've been driving on the Trace before, or any of the roads that lead out to any of the bays, and you just see weird shadows kind of go across the road or duck into the woods, and it's so thick and so dark out there that you don't know what you're going to see next, and you just expect some sort of creature to run across the road at any point in time. So that's pretty cool, Stephen, that you saw that. Let's see. And again, thank you guys for joining us on this off day. We know it's Sunday and it's a little later than normal.
and we had zero notice that we were doing it almost, but hey,
Yeah, we didn't really let you guys know we were doing it until pretty much last minute, but we didn't decide we were going to do this until later. And if you guys are just joining us, yes, it looks different because we are in the Chief Logan State Park Lodge in Logan, West Virginia. We are not at home in the Hellbent Holler headquarters studio. So we did bring all of our equipment to do a live stream. So we do have our lights and everything, but we are in the lodge actually. All right, Joseph Doyle, you see anything?
I'm catching up on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with this.
Mess with the spectrum analyzer as I've been doing it.
Oh,
but,
okay. Well, let's see.
Oh, last I'd asked, when are we going back to the LBL? You might have even have answered that because I've been focused on this, but we're going to be going back probably in about a month or so, and then we'll be going back in the very late winter, early spring again. We get reports from all over. We get reports from all over the country. I mean, we focus mostly on this region, and I just don't. Right now, we're still very focused on the LBL.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of discussion on the LBL. I know there's going to be other people looking into the LBL. That's good, but our own personal interest is still very tied into that part of the country. There's still some things that we want to look into a little bit deeper there. There's some things that we want to try.
Yeah, there's a lot of
there.
experiments that we want to do, that we
Yeah.
want to conduct out there. And now that we've got some new equipment, we're definitely going to take that out there, especially the infrasound equipment. We want to take that out to the LPL, and we want to experiment with that. So definitely look forward to going out there again. We do have it in the works. It is coming up, and it will be happening. So that is a positive. That is definitely happening. Killshot says, love talking to y'all this weekend. We'd like to get together and go on a hunt for Dogman or whatever y'all decide. Stay safe out there and always keep your head on a swivel in the woods. Yes, we will always keep our head on a swivel. And it was really nice to meet you too. It was really nice to meet everybody that came out. We've met a lot of new people, and we had people who they had no idea who we were. Some of them were. Some of them had no idea who we were, and they were just like, what do y'all do? And they're like, oh my God. So they were subscribing while they're standing here. But we had actually a really nice turnout of people who came to the conference.
Yeah, it was really cool
For us.
Yeah,
You know,
great.
I thought that was really cool. They came to the conference, they were like, oh my God, I came just to see you. I came to come meet you. And that's like so humbling. Like,
Yeah,
that's so
we approach
cool.
these a lot different than a lot of people do. If for those of you that were here this weekend, you saw it, but I mean, we don't sit behind a table with like, a stack of like stuff to sell, and that'll be $25, da da da. We're usually like out in front of the table, like showing people equipment. Just, I mean, even if we just get to hear like a cool few experiences that people have had, there's just a lot of people out there that have had weird stuff happen to them, and they just don't have anybody to talk to about it. And they just want to have somebody to hear their story. Even if you stand there and go, I don't know what that was, but that sounds crazy and I believe you. That goes a long way, man, especially when you've had something that's kind of fairly traumatic that's happened to you, and everybody that's close to you in real life thinks you're crazy. But it's cool to do that, and it's cool to kind of, my whole thing is that we just beat it like a drum, is that we need more people out there like doing this with with a variety of approaches and a variety of beliefs and everything like that. The more the merrier at this point. So my thing is always just that if we can kind of just get a few more people involved with this, and if we do nothing else with it, that's
maybe inspire some more people to go out and be researchers.
We've had a contribution to it then. So
yeah, absolutely.
Rob asks, have you guys heard of Hellier, Kentucky and the weird cave trolls? Yes, we have. Subterranean things are like a huge interest to me. I am not a caver. I'm not a spelunker. We would love to like look at some fairly navigable caves, but as far as like slithering on my belly through like really tight passages and all that, that's not going to happen.
Slithering on my belly.
Yeah. So, but
I slithered on my belly in the moonlight.
Yeah, but we've heard of that. As far as the the Kentucky goblins or whatever, we always talk about how there were some parallels between Dogman. Well, not parallels, but mentions of creatures that are basically Dogmen, that they were brought up in like a lot of the reports that were released about the UAP stuff. That's, the guys at Skinwalker Ranch and all that were having experiences with upright canines. Well, not mentioned as frequently as they were also looking into, reports of goblins up there. Like very credible, serious reports of little pale, hairless white things coming out of the ground that people were seeing. And not as much information has been released on that. And I don't know if it's because maybe there's just no other information to release. They didn't come up with anything tangible, or maybe that's something that'll get like, kind of dribbled out down the road in the future. But extremely interested in them. Extremely. That was our one big frustration with Hellier, the documentary, was that and I know they're ghost hunters by trade, and they're going to approach it from a metaphysical standpoint.
Yeah.
But is that when they were hearing stuff about there's a cave down the road and these things are in there and people are offering up sacrifices.
Yeah, there's a cave and a cult
and it's right down the road, man.
And it's happening right here.
Let's not do an SD session. Let's
go. Let's go do this,
man.
But no, it was how about we just go this way, and that's fine, just not everybody's going to run into danger. So that's cool. Talking about infrasound here. Goshawk says, yeah, because nobody's really diving into the infrasound topic.
Yeah,
and Lane County follows up with, infrasound is interesting. Been zapped once. Don't care to experience it again. LOL. I'll be interested to see what you discover.
Because my thing is that, and I've said this before, and those of you who listen to it all the time, I'm not 100% sold that it's infrasound. I know that the effects that people are having are real. She's experienced something a couple of times, like right in front of my very eyes. Martin Groves had an extreme experience with something invisible affecting him beyond just the shock of seeing one of these creatures. The effects are real. I just don't know what the cause of those effects are. And I might be wrong again, but that's why I'm not just dismissing it. We had equipment made to look into it, to research it, to see what's maybe causing this. That's why we're carrying like all sorts of weird little instrumentation with us that the best we can get as far as, because again, it has to be backpackable. It has to be light enough for us to carry. It has to be something we can use in the woods. We can't, wheel in heavier like instrumentation, but I want to know what's causing that effect. I want to know what's causing that effect. I want to know what's, to me, that precludes these things from being a natural animal. If it's infrasound, well, a whale's a lot bigger than a Sasquatch is, which means that it should be able to generate infrasound. Well, I mean, it can generate infrasound that can be detected hundreds of miles away. You don't have people that work in close proximity to whales, like marine biologists, bobbing up to the surface unconscious.
Yeah, because they've been zapped by a whale.
Yeah, so I think now infrasound might be a part of it, but there's something else there causing these extreme physical effects. That's my theory. And now, like anything else, you've got to test it. So testing it, we're going to. And like I said, instead of just swallowing something that's like a trope.
And it's going to be amazing to get like data, like actual.
And hey, we might go out there and just get massive amounts of infrasound.
And that would be cool too. Whatever we get. But we're going to have like solid data. We're going to have graphs of this. We're going to be able to graph this.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, though, if we go out there and we get massive amounts of infrasound, that's going to solidify in my mind even more so that these aren't natural animals, because natural animals can't do that.
Yes.
So I'm not just going to go, hey, oh yeah, infrasound, it's a monkey. No, something's doing infrasound like we think is impossible. That means it's weird. It's definitely not just a natural creature.
It's more advanced if it is.
Or is there something else out there with it?
Yeah.
Something else out there with it that is advanced.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother kettle of fish. So
David Hunt says, the research has moved on from tree knocking and shouting into the woods, and it definitely needed to in all areas. I agree.
Well, I don't think it's the research has moved on in some ways, but
it needed to, is what he said.
It needs to.
Needed to.
Yeah, it needs
not
to.
That it has.
Yeah.
It needs to move on.
It needs to move on, because I mean, we've been doing this for a little while, but we're fairly new to YouTube and stuff like that. We don't really go to a lot of conferences or conventions or anything like that, because that's a time issue. We're in the woods a bunch. But we'll have people that are like, oh, I've been doing this I've got 30 years of experience. And I'm like, no, man, you've got like a year's worth of experience that you've repeated 30 times over. You're doing the same thing now that you were doing 30 years ago, with little to no real results. So, I mean, that's where we're going to constantly come up with new stuff, man. I mean, some of it's going to work. Some of it's going to be an abject failure. Again, you're dealing with an unknown that you can't really get a lot of tangible data on. So, a lot of this is just going to be like, taking a shot in the dark at it, but, take enough shots and maybe you'll get lucky. So.
Yeah. Bill Smith says we're a little behind on the comments because
that's fine, guys. We're catching up. So
there's a ton of comments.
We didn't expect as many people here tonight.
No, I know. We really appreciate you guys joining us. Bill Smith says, I was a prior law enforcement investigator and current corporate investigator, have done a lot of interviews and interrogations. Do you all use interview techniques and tactics when interviewing witnesses? We are still developing how we do this and what information we gather. As of right now, we are gathering stories. We're really, really in the infancy of how we interview people, because we're trying to figure out a standardized form. And actually, our friend Lenny suggested that we do a standardized interview type form for people. But right now, we're gathering people's stories and people's accounts in more of a free-flowing manner. They contact us via email generally. And we are just letting people tell us their stories, and we're gleaning details out of them. But I think that we're going to start doing very, very standardized
Well,
forms for every account.
She's going to start doing standardized.
I'm going to start doing.
We have different approaches to stuff. She and I do, and we have actually. There's a lot of like differences in our beliefs here. When I interview people, I kind of tailor it to the person that I'm speaking to. I try not to take like a very harsh, regimented approach to them. I try to draw information out, asking questions and everything like that. But what would be good is for me to interview somebody in a very free flowing manner, and then have her go through
translate the data.
And no, or you do an interview later on separately, more structured and rigid, and then kind of compare notes.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
And see what we're going to with that then. Because again, like I said, it's for me a lot of times it's and you have to talk to people more than once, obviously. Try to come up with it. But yeah, like I said, I think that's something that we're going to maybe try to do.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I enjoy the free flowing kind of just seeing where the conversation. There are certain things that I ask every person, which I'm not going to list here because in case I end up speaking to somebody. But there's certain things I ask every witness that contacts us.
And maybe different approaches and different coming at it from a different angle. Both of us having different approaches would possibly wiggle out a little nugget that they may forget. And maybe if it's more regimented one way, they'll be able to be like fact. You know what I'm saying? And then for you, you interview them in a more free flowing manner. Maybe things will kind of come to the surface a little more naturally. It's a good idea. We are going to probably standardize some stuff. All right. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know where it's off a little bit. Katie just texted me and told me that Patricia broke the hot tub at the
the ghost broke the hot tub at the hotel.
Yeah.
So
she did not want us in the hot tub is what happened.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go back up here and try to.
Yeah, if you want to go back.
Yeah, Martin Grove said he just got Martin and Dewey Edwards went to the LBL recently and went back to the area where Martin's, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like an encounter, attack took place. And Martin had not been back since then. So they went back and in that process of going through there, they found some really crazy tracks through there. We found really crazy tracks. We found regular looking canine prints that were on the high side of normal. They were about what you would expect from a very large wolf. So they were outside of domestic dog range, although you can't say that because there's going to be outliers. I'm sure there's some domestic dogs, but we didn't find accompanying human footprints as if somebody was taking their dog for a walk. We found that footprint that almost looked human, except it was big and it had the claw marks on it.
Yes.
And then they found other stuff entirely,
I actually included, I got a screen grab of that footprint and I put that in my presentation that I did here at the conference. Yeah. Matt Keene said, I just wanted to say thank you to you all for talking with me at the time with the time you have. I sent y'all something. I forgot to show y'all at the conference some possible spooky stuff. Yeah, Matt Keene, thank you for coming out. Thank you for making the trip out here and joining us for that night hike and investigation we did on Friday. We really appreciate you coming out and sharing your stories with all of us. You got to meet Martin Groves and everybody. So we're glad you could make it out to the conference and join us.
Bill Craig asked, could the LBL be a nexus of magical power for these creatures? I think it's a nexus of some sort of energy. Kentucky has a magnetic anomaly that's fairly close by that you can go find information. It's called the Kentucky anomaly. These things seem to gravitate, and when I say these things, I'm mostly referring to Dogman, but other weird phenomena to certain elements, bodies of water, mines, caves, and that area of Kentucky has a lot of that. So yeah, I definitely think there's something about the LBL that we're not the only ones that say it. There's so much stuff there beyond that 1982, supposed family attacked in the RV. I think that's why we talk about Martin's case so much, is that not because of the personal relationship we have with Martin, but because of the wide range of elements that are in his case, I think are more representative of what's going on the LBL than just a physical attack by an unknown creature.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to Martin's story. And I think that Martin's, we don't really do guests yet, but eventually we're going to, and Martin's going to be one of the first, if not the first, probably the first person we have on here, if he's willing, if he's kind enough to do so.
Yeah.
But I really want to talk to him because I think when people have interviewed him, his story is just so like impressive and so dramatic. There's layers there that I think show that it's a lot weirder than what we think it is. And I think that is, again, if you had to have a representative case of the LBL, it's not that 82 RV attack. It's probably Martin's experience and what
Yeah,
happened
it's
to
nice
him.
to have a direct witness account,
Yeah.
instead of a third person account.
Yeah.
Like the 82 story
Yeah.
is a third person account. It's nice to have a direct witness
Mhm.
account. I think that says a lot. You got a lot of people out here in the chat discussing infrasound, discussing tigers using infrasound.
All right, so the tigers.
Let me pull this up. The ominous green glow says you have tiger handlers routinely getting sick from infrasound. Also been documented with other big cat handlers.
Respectfully, I would like to see that because
yeah, if they're if you have the data on this, or you can send us a link to where there's been a study on this or there is information on this, we would love to see that. You can
because
definitely email us at hellbendholler@gmail.com if you have that, because I don't know if that is what you think is going on.
I'm give me 1 second here. A lot of, because again, I've been spending about 2 years now diving into infrasound. And again, I'm not a bioacoustician. I'm not classically trained in this. I'm the first to say that there might be something out there that I'm unaware of, that the internet's a big place. And no matter how much you search for stuff and no matter how much you dive into stuff, I'm sure I've just scratched the surface. So I'm definitely willing to hear anything that anybody has to say about it to kind of further my own education on it. But a lot of the stuff with tigers and infrasound came from, there's a 2000 article, December 29, 2000. And I pulled it up just so I quote it. And especially because the lady involved has such an unusual last name, I want to make sure that I get it correctly. But the article starts off by saying a tiger's intimidating roar has the power to paralyze the animal that hears it. And that even includes experienced human trainers. So they talked to a bioacoustician from the Fauna Communications Research Institute in North Carolina. Her name is Elizabeth Van Muggenthaler. That's why I had to look this up. So basically they're doing research on different sounds that animals emit, and they're looking at big cats. And infrasound is basically sound that's below 20 hertz. It's below the human range of hearing. I'm not going to go into a real deep explanation of what a hertz is, or decibels or sound pressure waves or anything like that, but there's a lot into this. It's a science. And basically they realized that tigers were making noise below 20 hertz. So she makes a comment here, von Muggenthaler. She goes, when a tiger roars, the sound will rattle and paralyze you. Although untested, we suspect that this is caused by the low frequencies and the loudness of the sound.
It could be caused by the fact that
There's
a tiger roaring at you.
But I'm going to read that to you one more time. Although untested, we suspect that this is caused by the low frequencies and the loudness of the sound. So if that was from 2000, the year 2000, and people have latched onto that. Although untested, we suspect. So it was never proven. It was never done anything. And we hear those same anecdotal stories, but the people that are looking into infrasound that's emitted by animals, they don't talk about that nowadays. They talk about how elephants use it to communicate over several miles. Tigers use it to scare off rivals from their stomping grounds, basically, at that point. Whales use it to communicate over hundreds of miles because water transmits sound a lot better than air does. It's a lot better medium for a mechanical wave, which is what sound is. So again, I know I'm nerding out on this right now, but a lot of the stuff that people attribute to infrasound comes from some articles where basically one person said that we think this is what's going on, but we haven't tested it.
And it's not that we're saying that these people are not having these experiences.
Oh, they're having these experiences.
We think that it's not just infrasound. It might be a combination of infrasound and possible high-level EM. But we don't think it's infrasound. But that's why we're testing for it. We are going to test for it.
Mm-hmm.
We have equipment that has been made for us to specifically test for this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So we are going to test for it. Ominous Green Glow follows up a little bit later here. I know we're still behind
Yeah.
in the chat. A lot
That's
going on
fine.
here. He says that he watched a current study. Again, if you have a current
If you have it,
study,
please let me know, because
email
everything,
us at the address below at hellbentholler@gmail.com and
please let me
send the
know.
study to us. We'd love to read it.
Because again, it's the same thing with like the ghost community. There was a guy who basically made basically just a wild guess that infrasound was causing his eyeballs to resonate and was causing him to hallucinate shapes in his laboratory. And, it's shown that infrasound can cause irritability and a lot of stuff. There's a lot of study going on infrasound beyond just what animals use right now. There's a thing called infrasound sensitivity, where certain people, it may not affect me, but it may affect her to a certain extent, but it's not the symptoms that people are describing when they have these encounters with physical entities. It might be, again, but like I said, it's a lot of people just take things that they've heard and they repeat it. That's not necessarily the case. If it is, I just haven't come across it yet. So,
Yeah.
but I'd love to see it if somebody's got it.
Yeah,
So,
if you have that data, please send it to us.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that because we want to see all of the data.
Yeah,
We want
yeah.
to read all of the data. We want to know, what is that? Was there a study done? We'd like to read the study. We want that information because we're trying to gather data on this
A
phenomenon.
large part of my week is spent reading stuff that just on the topic. Just so I can, when
It's
I can,
easily found on Google, is what he
yeah,
says.
I mean, and I encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, go out, and if you can find Elizabeth Van Muggenthaler, if she brought out a follow-up peer-reviewed paper showing that this occurred, again, there's anecdotal stuff, but go out and look at the Mythbusters episode where they're looking for the brown note. The brown note occurs below 20 hertz, and they generated a lot of it. They generated a lot of infrasound, and their test subjects did not have the physical effects that people seem to describe and then attribute it to infrasound. So, and again, like we talked about interviewing witnesses earlier, you speak to some people who've had infrasound experiences or what they think is infrasound, and you start asking them other questions about maybe some symptoms that they haven't listed. And then you compile those symptoms and you look at some other things. A lot of people that report being hit by what they think is infrasound, those symptoms match up pretty exactly with being hit with an extremely powerful electromagnetic field. How can a monkey in the woods generate up an extremely powerful electromagnetic field? That's a real good question.
That is a good
It sounds like
question.
that's on a normal monkey. So,
Lane County Bigfooters, I'm not going to put it up here, but Lane County, she was asking Martin where she can hear his story. You can get his book on Amazon. It's called Beasts Between the Rivers, and that is the detailed account of his story. It's a great book. It's not a long read, but it's a highly detailed account of Martin Grove's account of surviving, basically surviving on a Dogman attack in the land between the lakes.
Alan Laster, do y'all use pheromone chips? We have a few pheromone chips left. It looks like the company that produced them has just disappeared. Their website is gone. They don't answer messages anymore. So what we have is, I think, all we're gonna get.
Unless somebody starts making these pheromone chips again,
and that's
or if they
pretty specialized.
it's very specialized.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a few left, and we're gonna be very judicious in where we decide to put those at. But and if anybody comes across a source of that, again, hit us up, please, and let us know, man. We're willing to. I would love to find some more of those. So.
We're sorry, dead air. Hello, everybody. Yeah, you found it. Lane County found the book. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's Martin's account. It's very compelling. Every time he tells the story, I get chills every time, and I almost go to tears. It's a very, very compelling story. My friend Katie read it and told us never go back to the LBL again. Yeah. So
anyway, I'm gonna actually spin this around and see if I can get this on. Don't think I can get it on camera.
Well, you've got a chat up there.
Yeah.
Bullish Bowser says, I'm not very familiar with LBL except through y'all. In your opinion, are these cryptids of this are indigenous, migratory, or other? And you are not crazy. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. This kind of goes into something else that we've actually discussed lately, is that part of the stuff that we used to talk about is, well, I'll back up. part of what you hear a lot of people talk about is well, let's look for areas where there's a food source. There's like, where like a large omnivore or a large predator could exist and everything like that. Well, then how does that explain these sightings in people's backyards and suburban areas? Um, when you say migratory or indigenous, I don't know what term would describe it. I think that a lot of this stuff, I think there's certainly more areas where they're more prevalent than others. They're not there all the time. They're coming from somewhere, kind of hanging out here, doing whatever they're doing, and then going somewhere else. And whether that is interdimensional, subterranean, we hear all sorts of theories. And you know what? I don't know, but maybe they are located in extremely remote areas of the woodland, and then they're just kind of passing through, going somewhere else. I don't know. That's the data we're trying to compile. And I'm just telling you right now, as soon as you compile one data set and you see a pattern, you're going to find a whole bunch of cases that go, counter to that. And then you can either pitch those out because they don't fit your theory, or you can just kind of take them as a whole and then just keep searching for those patterns. So the pattern that I'm seeing is that they're not here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say here, they're not in any one particular area all the time. Where they are the rest of the time, I don't know. But again,
you're starting to head into interdimensional theory region there. So it's a scary thought, isn't it? That they can pass in and out of dimensions. We had one from earlier, but he kind of followed up with it too. So we're going to go from his earlier comment here. Patrick Phillips says, Joe, I've experienced infrasound once while hunting with my son. However, he did not experience any ideas.
Yes, I do have ideas, because if any of you guys are interested, you can find the same data, the same information that I found. After 9/11, they were actually looking at ways for people to protect the cockpit of airplanes that did not involve firearms, because obviously you don't want to puncture the body of the aircraft and cause the cabin to depressurize, or maybe even, like, heaven forbid, hit like an engine or something like that. So there had been people that were like, hey, I hear this about infrasound, it causes, nausea and all of the same tropes that we've discussed here. And so they looked into using it as a weapon, and they didn't go with it because they couldn't get the effects. But then also too, that it was very hard to target for what they were trying. So depending on the proximity to your son, let's say that you guys were hunting. So let's say you guys were less than 20 feet from each other. And then you got hit and he did not. Now, if it's a low level infrasound, again, like we said, some people are more sensitive to others, but maybe you would get irritable and he wouldn't. But if you had something like dizziness, confusion, that feeling of being zapped, and he didn't, it's odd, because infrasound's not supposed to work like that. And it's not supposed to be that targetable. But again, it might be, and it might be somebody using it in ways we don't understand, but that's part of the mystery. You would think that both of you, if it's so powerful to give you that physical effect, it would have affected your son as well. So, so that is the mystery. And that's why I have a lot of questions about infrasound, and I want to look into it and figure out what's going on, because if we can figure out what's causing these effects, we might get more of an idea about the nature of what these things are. So,
and again, this is why we've gone through the steps of getting infrasound detection equipment put together for us, and built. We've had this built so that we can go out there into these highly active areas and actually test for it. Having stories about it and what you think it is and theories about it, that's great. That's a starting point. That's a great starting point. But actually having the instrumentation to test, to actually perform tests to see if this is actually happening in these highly active areas, I think that is, I don't see a downside to that.
Yeah, and
and it's not like you or I are saying that infrasound doesn't exist. It exists. It obviously exists.
And the effects that people are reporting exist.
Yes. So obviously these effects are existing. Infrasound exists, but I don't think that these are, it's not necessary that one is causing the other,
And
it could be. I mean, it could be, but that's why we are testing for it. That's why we're going to test for it. We're going to get data for it. And like I said, that fellow earlier said that, you know, that, oh, what you can easily Google it. We Googled that study from 2000.
And you're always going to hear
she
back.
She literally said it's untested.
And that's what people either imply or flat out refer back to as far as the basis for what they're saying. And again, it might be, and I might have to come back up here and go, all right, so there's other data.
Yeah, and if we get new information and new data, guess what? We'll change the hypothesis, because that's how it works.
But and then the other thing too is that, you know, I'm sitting here telling you right now, I firmly believe that there are things going on that are outside the realm of how we understand science. There are things that are going to be immeasurable by our understanding of science. Just like UAPs don't behave in a way that they behave in a way that we don't understand, we can't replicate with aircraft. And it seems impossible that things on the ground are behaving the exact same way as well. But we kind of need to understand those boundaries of science, you know, that these things are operating beyond. We need to see if there's anything about them that is measurable. You know, obviously people don't understand what causes a lot of paranormal activity, but there are certain elements that seem to be, you know, detectable and replicated in multiple cases. And that's what we're looking for with the physical cryptid aspect of it as well. So if that makes sense. So
we want some comic relief here. Jersey in the chat has been the comic relief all night. I've not shared any of his stuff, but you'll have to go through the chat later.
All right.
And check it out. But he goes, test the brown note, and I want data, for God's sake. So yeah, the brown note.
He also, I just saw this. I use tree knocking during ghost hunts. Mix it up a bit.
Mix it up. There you go. So yeah. The Wildergeist.
But yeah, like I said, and again, if it's a theory, and what's weird is that I've had more people get upset with me just kind of questioning the infrasound aspect of it than anything else we've ever done. And I'm not questioning the effects of it. The effects are there. Let's find out what's causing the effect, because if we can figure out the cause of the effect, it'll give us an idea of the nature of these entities. I think with a lot of this stuff is indicative of people who just think that it's just a big monkey that we haven't found yet running around in the woods. And when they are confronted with activities that seem unnatural, they look for a natural equivalent to explain it away. It had eyes that glowed red in the night, and there was no exterior light at all. Well, bioluminescence is a thing. A, it doesn't really occur in mammals. B, your eyes are photoreceptors. Your eyes take in light to allow you to see. So if your eyes are also emitting light, I could see some problems with that biologically. That doesn't seem like a good evolutionary trait. Infrasound, I think that somebody heard this somebody heard about this report that was done back in the year 2000, where somebody posited that tigers might cause, you know, their prey to be stunned with infrasound. And then they heard about these effects that people had in the case of Bigfoot, and they go, oh, they're using infrasound. And they might be, I don't know, but nobody else has tested for it yet. And we're just repeating these things over and over again because we've heard them to be true. And I think that's part of the reason why we haven't really seen any movement in the understanding of what's going on here. So our idea is just this: let's start testing some of this stuff, man. That's the whole thing about this. I mean, we talked before about how we had these EM pumps built. We're going into areas where our equipment's getting drained, and you know, one of the tropes that people repeat is that these things take energy to, you know, for themselves. They feed off of it. Well, then let's, instead of just having energy from a flashlight, let's pump it out there. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if we can either strengthen something enough for us to see it, draw something in, do something. You know what I'm saying? And some ghost hunters have used these to try to do like EM pumps in like houses and all that. All right, well, let's ramp it up like to a factor of 10 and take it out in the woods and see what happens with it. So again, like
see what we can stir up out there.
Yeah, I mean, let's just test some of the stuff that's repeated all the time, and maybe it's verifiable, maybe it's not, you know. But there's got to be certain parts of this phenomenon that we can detect and study, you know. I mean, there's these, and you know, and again, maybe, like I said, maybe we'll get nothing infrasound, maybe we'll just test massive amounts of it, you know. Either way, it's not natural. If we catch massive amounts of infrasound, that definitely precludes this from being like a natural, just underdiscovered ape running
Yeah.
around the woods. That's just not physically possible. So,
Elizabeth Parr says, is there anyone who has tried singing and seeing if there is activity? I used to go down by our pond and sing, and everything would get quiet and I'd start feeling strange. Yeah, sometimes I'll, if we feel like something's kind of weird or something, sometimes I'll whistle or I'll sing and I try to get a response. I think it's kind of like just trying varied methods of communication, and seeing if you get a response is always a good way to kind of approach things, is just vary your communication while you're doing research in the field. What?
I'm just reading more Jersey stuff.
Yeah, he's funny.
Do you waterboard your witnesses, and why not? So, all right. Boy, we got a bunch of comedians in the chat tonight, man. It's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
we do.
and that's the thing, man. I like having fun with this. I mean, we take this extremely seriously, and this pretty much consumes the majority of our lives nowadays. But it's still fun, man. That's why we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't have any I'll be honest with you, I don't have any illusions that we're going to crack anything. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're not going down any history books or anything like that.
We
you know?
might,
But you know, but I mean,
we might find something.
Yeah, might find something. But
we did
but
get that Dogman image.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's for the most part, it's because we enjoy it, man. This should be a fun topic, you know, and you know, that's the thing that always gets me, to see these people that are just so dour and like humorless and this, you know, and I'm just like, why are you in this? It doesn't seem like it brings you any joy. We enjoy it. We enjoy talking to people about it. You know,
Yeah.
we enjoy talking about it, hearing from people. We enjoy listening to people's stories. It's fun. The whole thing's fun. Even when it's scary, it's fun, you know? Well, fun's not a word for it because it's not, but it's enjoyable / interesting. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
I mean, we could be golfing or something.
and you know, exactly. And even the people that we meet who have had traumatic experiences,
it helps them to talk about
helps them to talk about it, man. It helps them to talk about it.
Get it out there.
And and you know, there's a lot of friendships that are formed in doing this stuff too, you know. So there's a positive side with it. But yeah, if it's just bringing you misery, get out, go do something else, man. Go fishing. So yeah. Our friend Carlito's on there. What is up, everybody? Carlito here.
Hello, Carlito.
Check out his channel, Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom. So
they were talking earlier in the chat about the power going out. So when we went out to the trail on Friday night to do the night hike thing, where we did like demos with all the equipment and everybody used the equipment, and there was actually a thermal capture on that hike that night, which was really cool. We talked about that a little bit earlier. As soon as we got into the woods, this is so strange. As soon as we got into the woods, and it's over way on the edge of the property over here, off the side of the lodge over there, there's a trail that we went down this trail and used the equipment and did all that stuff. As soon as we got the entire group into the woods, the power at the lodge went out, like completely out. The power was out. And the whole time we're out there, the power's out. And the power came back on the minute we stepped out of the woods.
Yeah. So
wasn't that weird?
That's weird.
I thought that was very weird. Could have been a coincidence. Of course, there's a lot of coincidences that go on during all of this. So, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Martin Grove's happy to be your first guest and promised to share something that no one has ever heard and I've never shared with anybody concerning the LBL event.
That would be cool.
That will be awesome. So,
Patrick Phillips suggests that we test our new equipment out on tigers at a zoo. Their growls are for real.
Oh, they are for real, and they do generate infrasound. And again, that's not under debate. I could take that there and put it in front of a tiger cage, and I will detect infrasound. And I might feel a rumbling in my chest. I might feel a slight feeling of irritability or nervousness or something like that. Tigers generate infrasound. Our equipment would pick it up. She's talked about doing that. She's like, we really need to go take it to a zoo or like to an exotic animal, like, you know, enclosure or something like that. Just see what we get. We'll pick it up. We're not debating the fact that tigers don't generate it. I mean,
whales generate it. We're saying that animals generate infrasound.
The equipment we're using is a variation of what they use in nature preserves in Africa, where they're testing like elephants. You know, well, not testing, but monitoring elephants. They have more immobile versions of this set up in certain areas around there to test for infrasound coming from elephants. So it happens. It occurs naturally. It does, and tigers generate it. But um, tigers are also in zoos, and people will be a relatively close, in proximity to them. And tigers roar all the time in zoos, and you don't have people dropping like flies and being carried out of the zoo on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it causes effects. I just don't think it causes the effects that it's not, think doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't cause the effects. Maybe extremely massive amounts do, but at that point, you're talking about something that's generating infrasound that we can't replicate and we don't find replicable in nature.
Yeah.
So that's all there's to it.
We're definitely gonna. I see now. It's a sticking point. Now I have to go to a freaking
zoo with
zoo or a cat
infrasound
rescue.
and try to test it.
We'll take the equipment, but also what we can do is we can take the equipment, test, run it, because we can run it remotely. That's why we had it built, is that we can run it without having it attached to anything. But we can take it to the zoo. We're gonna be the freaking weirdos with the infrasound stuff with the tube hanging out of it.
So they're gonna think we've got like a bomb or something like that. They're gonna end up calling the cops on us. So
I think we ought to, at the same time, Jill Duck is one of our viewers, and she's on these live streams all the time. She had to go to bed early because she had a long trip today. But Jill suggested something to us a couple of weeks ago that we found very interesting. It was a great idea to kind of monitor our vital signs while we are doing this kind of work. And so if we,
like, your whole body's a biological sensor at that
like
point,
a biological
to see what
sensor.
sort of like
so with these
stimuli
experiences, people are saying that they have like physical effects. So I think that could be a part of this whole experiment as a whole, is going to a big cat rescue or a zoo or whatever, and then testing this with animals that are known to produce infrasound and check the levels and what it does to us.
And obviously the infrasound, it's weird because I always think it's like boring to people. I wasn't prepared for the pushback that I got when I talked about it. I guess because that's so established, and guess what? It might be true. I don't know. It's something I want to look at, because I think that paralyzing, or that zapped feeling, or that feeling that people report, there's something being transmitted from it's being transmitted, and you've become the receptor for it. And maybe there are people that tell me that it's psychic. I thought somebody mentioned there earlier.
They're talking about as like a psychic.
And other researchers will say it's a psychic. And guess what? I won't be able to measure for that. I don't think. With just the instrumentation that we have. But anyway, there's obviously some more interest in it. Do you have a sonograph or the ability to show measurements of your infrasound recordings you obtain? When it's going to be in a portable mode, when we just have it, there's an LED array that shows me. It won't show me the exact frequency of it. It's just going to measure anything below 20 hertz, so anything in the infrasonic range, but it's going to show me the basically the intensity of it by the LED light that lights up. So we will be able to test if there's infrasound there, and if so, how strong it is. Ballpark it, once we have it set up stationary, and that's actually what we use the money from that super chat from last week to get a backup power source for it. We'll be able to take a laptop with us into certain areas, hook it up to the laptop, hook it up to the backup power source, and it runs off a software program that's very similar to what seismographs use, actually. And that will show me the frequency of it as well as the intensity. Now that's going to be a bit more cumbersome, so it's not really going to be as portable, and especially if we're wanting to use it on the go, it pretty much precludes doing that. But if we want to set up stationary, mobile one night, we'll be able to actually do it. We'll be able to graph it and watch it. We can set how often the graph updates. But it's very similar software to what people use to measure earthquakes at this point, as far as like
it's
the
readable. It's readable data.
It's readable data. So we'll get it. So
yeah, Bullish Bowser says, "What are your contingency plans just in case one of you get hit hard by infrasound?" Well, we're gonna pinch and pray. We hope it's not the brown.
Well, she's been she had some weird. She got, let's just call it zapped, for lack of a better term, like twice, and I've been standing right next to her, and it never affected me. So
I don't think that was an infrasound thing. I think what that happened, if you're talking about Panther Town, now the Panther Town was different than one time when I got insanely irritable and like angry. I don't think that what happened to me was a physical effect. like, or a physical cause
Mhm.
that led to me having that experience. I think that, like they've discussed before, like they were discussing in the chat here, I think that was more of a psychic or a
Mhm.
spiritual attack. I think it was
Quite a
more
bit,
on that
so.
plane rather than sort of like a physical method of attack, whether it be through sound waves or
And
infrasound waves or electromagnetic attack or anything like that. I think what happened to me was I'm of course I'm always on a supernatural bent
and
of things,
and guess what?
and that could be clouding my view on it, like a bias.
Just like we say that we think that there are different entities that are all lumped together under the Dogman umbrella or the Sasquatch umbrella. There might be different things out there causing similar physical effects, but they have different causes. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe there are some psychic aspects to it. Maybe there are just some, some electromagnetic. Maybe there are some instances where people are legitimately hit with infrasound and are
Yeah.
getting it. It might not be the same thing, but again, right now, nobody's testing for it. Nobody's. What you hear?
Go look.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the main lobby area, which is oh Jesus, sorry guys, that was probably loud. In the main lobby area over here, they have this stand that is full of these little stuffed bird toys that you have to squeeze them, and when you squeeze them, they chirp and make the noise of the bird. And the lady earlier told us that every time she turns off the lights, they go crazy. And we just heard them go crazy just now, but the lights are not off. Joe just walked around the corner to check it out. But there's like nobody here. I mean, there's a lady behind the desk way over there. She's just on the computer, I'm sure. I can't see her from here because we're over here in the other wing of the hotel. But I just heard the entire display of birds go off. So Joe's going to go check that out. He's going to be back. He should have taken the instrumentation because he needs to get data. But hey, he's gonna go check that out. But yeah, we just heard that entire display of birds go off, and there's just, like literally nobody here. We are like in a ghost town right now. So he's gonna check that out. I'm gonna pull down the comments here so we can go down here. Thank you for that super chat, Bullish Bowser. Everything you guys super chat us, actually, here we go. Everything you guys super chat us goes towards equipment. That's how we were able to get the infrasound equipment, and we're going to be able to do the testing for this. Of course, free press goes $2 is 1 round of 10mm. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Did you hear that? Yeah, guys. Did you guys hear them? Okay, we try to be quiet. If you guys, let's see. Patricia's touching the birds. Patricia likes to make those birds go off. Apparently. Let's see here. What did you say? Come over here. Just come over here and like get on the microphone so they can hear you. They hear. I think a bunch of people heard it. Grace goes, yes, a haunted live stream. That's why we wanted to do it, because like they were telling us all about this ghost in this part of the hotel. So we're just like, all right, well, let's just do a live stream and see if something happens. So what happened over there?
It's as I started walking up, just goes quiet. So I went all down there. There's nobody down.
There's nobody down
The
there.
lady
Right?
at the front desk isn't there.
Oh, she's not even in there.
Yeah, so she gets off in like 45 minutes, but it's yeah, because we asked the lady at the front desk. We were just after she told us the story, we were like, hey, you mind if we set up down there? And as we're setting up down here, we've got people in the hotel stopping, telling us, oh yeah, it's weird down here. Let me know if you guys hear anything tonight. Da 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 da. So we'll see. So yeah, we'll keep our ears posted and see if we hear anything else on there.
Joe's anti-satellite jammers failed. Time to pay Uncle Sam, Joe.
Alan Lassler asked, have we heard about the survivor from the LBL attack? We have heard about him.
Yes.
We have heard about him. And I think we'll leave it at that for right now. Yeah, but we have heard his story. Just like we're going to say this, just like these entities, these phenomena, the core of them might be beyond scientific understanding. Hopefully they're going to be little elements that we can test for, that we can research and look into, and maybe get a better idea of the true nature of these things. Just like that, there are certain things about the LBL 1982 massacre that you can't verify. You just can't. People have looked into this longer than we have, There's certain things you can't verify. There
Mhm.
are certain things that you can verify, however.
And I love to dig into
And
things.
we like to dig into stuff. Again, when I said earlier, if we had one good quality to us as far as researchers go, we are very curious about things.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are things that you can dig. And I would just encourage anybody who's interested in the LBL, do some digging, man. Do some digging. There's some things out there that you can verify yourselves. Don't trust on what somebody else told you, but there are things out there. There's old information in libraries. There are people who have lived in the area for generations. There are people who live around that area who had property in the LBL, before it was taken over, and their descendants still live in the area. So just do some digging if you're interested in that. If you're interested in that 82 RV massacre, do some digging and then let us know what you find.
Yeah.
So,
Stephanie Light says, how do you navigate through your own fears that come up? I would love to go out and investigate different areas, but I'm very sensitive to energy and beings. I'm a medium/channel. I think the fear is half the fun. We enjoy it. We are scared at times. We do get nervous and scared, but I think being prepared for that physically and being prepared for that mentally and spiritually is very important to doing this work. We love what we do. We love going out. We love investigating. We love putting ourselves in these dangerous situations, and we love sharing it with you all. And it's what we love to do. It's enjoyable. And the fear is a part of that too.
And people always they're always like, well, what are you going to do if, we'll find out when it happens, man. You know what I'm saying? You've seen in the videos before, we've drawn our firearms before, and sometimes we've gone after stuff, and other times we've pulled back to kind of get a better position because we didn't feel safe where we were. An airplane could crash into this hotel right now and kill us all, man. It's dangerous and it's scary sometimes, but people don't keep that from, don't let that keep them from like climbing mountains or caving like we talked about earlier. And it's not going to keep us from doing this stuff, man.
Yeah.
So
Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom. He's going to bed. Good night, Carlito. But he goes, I'm going to have to watch this live from the beginning, guys, because I came in halfway and not on par, LOL. Thanks, everyone who checked out my interview with Dark Waters today. I'm beaten turning in. Yeah, check out his interview with Dark Waters. I'm sure it's a great one. We haven't had a chance to check it out yet. We've been so busy at this dang conference.
And I mentioned earlier about people that some people just seem like they're involved in this topic. They just hate it, and they hate everybody else in it, and they just hate talking to people. Carlito loves this stuff, man.
Carlito
loves it, man. He's just got such an enthusiasm for it, and it's really cool to like listen to him. I love talking to him. He's a great guy. If she and I can line up our schedules, we're going on his like podcast together. We don't really do a lot of podcasts, but just because he just has an enthusiasm for this topic that just we need, man. We need people to love it. It should be a passion, not like a burden they carry, man.
Bullish Bowser sent us a super chat.
Hey, thank
super
you,
sticker of $9.99. He goes, there you go. There's 5 rounds at 10 millimeter. So thank you. Hey, that might be the 5 rounds that get us through. You never know. Martin's going to bed. Good night, Martin.
Good night, buddy. Hey, I need to get in touch with you this week to talk about some stuff that we are planning that we want to involve you in. But
yeah, we have we got something big we're planning on right now. We're just waiting on some people to get back to us. But as soon as we lock it in, we have a huge announcement because we're so excited.
So Grace W said, we think our embassy was possibly attacked by some sonic weapon in and around 2018, give or take a year, but I think they were never really totally sure what the attack was. That's still going on. It's called Havana syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And it is people that are having consistent and repeatable physical effects that are in our embassies. And they think they're getting hit by some sort of sonic weapon, directed energy weapon, everything like that. And it's extremely fascinating. You don't hear a lot about it. Well, you hear about it, but you don't hear about it as far as like how it, about possible parallels to the stuff that we're all into and the stuff that we look at this point. I'm going to pull this up here real quick, just so I don't misquote anything, but some of the same people who were involved with the government's recent revelations on UAPs and looking into the physical effects that are caused by UAPs, originally were looking at Havana syndrome. They were looking at what the physical effects, these unknown physical effects. They can't seem to find a source to them, but multiple people are exhibiting the same effects here. They're exhibiting the same effects here and another place. And those effects seem extremely similar to what people are reporting after they have UAP encounters. And I think that they're also going to mirror what some people are reporting after they have cryptid encounters. What we think is, so that ties in with the infrasound. So we've really been looking into that a bit. Some of the people who were currently involved with it started out looking at Havana syndrome for the government, and then the government pulled them into UAP research. Or when I say UAP research, they pulled them into looking at people who have experienced UAPs and then reported physical effects afterwards.
Yeah.
So there seems to be, that's very interesting. That opens up a lot of doors at that point. And we know that the government, well, we don't know the government. We think that the government has recovered like off-world vehicles, like they call them, and they're probably trying to reverse engineer them. There is a train of thought that says that some of the creatures that people encounter are government replications of what maybe is coming from somewhere else. So maybe they are trying to recreate the Dogman that's coming from somewhere else for their own purposes. Maybe Havana syndrome is somebody's efforts to recreate what people are getting hit with by UAPs and physical entities out in the woods then. But yeah, it's extremely interesting. The Havana syndrome is really big.
That's
So,
pretty wild.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one substantive one. That's Chandra. She goes, "Oh my God, I'm missing the haunted lodge. Why?" Yeah. It was yeah, you should have stuck around, girl.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's see what we got.
But yeah, like I said, we didn't find out about a lot of this until
We're still in West Virginia, Chandra.
Yeah, we are still in West Virginia. We're heading home in the morning. So all right.
Thank you, Martin Groves, for joining us yesterday. Martin Groves going to bed, but yeah, thank you for joining us, Martin, and thank you for joining me on stage and with the talk. I think that was probably the most effective way to deliver the message and deliver the information that we wanted to get across to everyone. I think we introduced a whole new group of people to the realities of Dogman.
Bo Spouser, have you heard that the first giant skeletons found in or near Mammoth Cave had slits for eye sockets, not hollowed out like humans? I have not heard that, but where we're at, there's the legend of Sul Kulu, which was a Cherokee giant that had 6 fingers, and they call him the slant-eyed giant. That his eyes had a very odd slant to them. So that's interesting. I've not heard that, but there very well might be a parallel between what they found in Mammoth Cave and what the Cherokee were reporting seeing in the mountains near where we live at. So
yeah, the Sukulu is also referred to as Judicula, and it's a slant-eyed mountain giant is how it's described. A lot of times there's parallels between that and Bigfoot. So a lot of people think that Judicula or Sukulu is actually a Bigfoot.
Again, if somebody has a link to that with Mammoth Cave, send it to us. Man.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
And
Goshawk says, "What's your take on those loud sounds from around the world?"
That was everywhere for a while, and some of those were fake. You know,
yeah.
I mean, you have to admit that some of them were fake. Some of them weren't, and I don't know. It's like everything else. People get interested in it, and it's out there, and you find it. I don't know if that's still ongoing or not. It doesn't seem like it was ongoing to the same degree, but it was weird, man. And again, I know all of the scientific explanations, like, tectonic plate movement that was bouncing off the ionosphere and coming back. I know all the stuff that people did it. And I never, just like the spook lights that people see around Brown Mountain, I hear all of the junk science explanations for them. And at the end of the day, it's just unknown. So I don't know, man. If you've got any ideas on it, I'd love to hear it, because those were extremely interesting when they came out. And it seemed like they were building and building and building, and then they just dropped off.
Yeah.
So
Bush Bowser goes, "Hellbent holler all nighter."
Yeah, we're gonna go for a bit, man.
We're gonna go for
we'll be a little
while.
tired driving back, but that'll be all right. So
yeah. Oh, now I'm yawning. You guys make me yawn. This has been
Um,
a whirlwind weekend.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
exactly.
that.
Remy Acosta, hey, what's up, man? The quantum entanglement theory may explain the principle of infrasound, certain energies that flow unhindered through a conduit in another plane of existence that connects all and everything. I don't think you could call it infrasound at that point. I think that it would go more along the lines of the psychic attacks that people are talking about, or who knows? Maybe people are getting hit with a wide spectrum of stuff. Sound waves, electromagnetic
Like a
waves, psychic,
combination.
combination. I don't know. We're not, but again, um, we've got to be able to measure some of this, man. I mean, at least just like they can pick up, they don't know what UAPs are or how they do it, but they can detect them sometimes. We may not know what these things are or how they do it, but we might be able to detect what they do with some of this stuff, and that's the important thing. And depending on what we detect, maybe we can come up with a better plan to try to figure out what some of the stuff is. So
Stephanie Light says, "Do you carry crystals for spiritual protection?" I do protection rituals on our weapons before we go out, and I on our on our Glock 10
Yeah.
millimeters, on our tomahawks, on I already put that up.
Oh, okay.
On everything like that. We do ritual before that. We also carry black salt and holy water, so we do take spiritual as well as physical protection items.
I'm like way behind on the
I know.
chat. You guys have
Yeah.
to bear with me. So
You just have to scroll down.
But and
Think
like I
the
said,
site is
if you
back.
guys put a question in here, even a comment, and the chat moves pretty quick, and we don't answer it, you can always email us, man. Like I said, I'm behind on answering correspondence. She's really behind on answering correspondence. She's got more of a social media presence than I do, so she's checking email and then a couple of different social media accounts. But one of us will get back to you eventually. So it might just take us a little bit, but
I was in Ukraine, dumpster diving Dogman. I love that name. I was in Ukraine last year. Every village has a large Christian cross at the entrance. My fiance said it's to keep out evil. Yeah. So, invoking Christ for protection is very, very common. Even I know we keep talking about Martin Groves. Martin Groves is the belle of the ball. He's got like the Martin
he
Groves.
is the belle of the ball right now, man.
The
He's like
Martin Groves fan club.
Yeah.
He said that he felt like he was almost paralyzed and he was stunned, and what could have been possible, EM or infrasound attack or whatever it was, whatever it is, whatever this thing is, or whatever this mechanism is that seems to stun people and shock them and keep them from reacting. He was stunned, and then he began to pray, and he was released from his stupor.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Neither infrasound or electromagnetic energy should respond to prayer like that.
No, it shouldn't.
So that's the thing and I'm willing to admit that there might be something that is immeasurable about all of this, that we just can't do it. But I won't know until I try to measure it and then come up short. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, it's just because it's beyond our comprehension doesn't mean we should stop trying to comprehend it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And again, because if nothing else, once we rule this stuff out, we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll figure out something else, man. There might be new technology that comes out. Again, a lot of the stuff we have, we wouldn't have had access to like 10 years ago. Some of the stuff even like 5 years ago.
Jersey says dipping bullets in holy water.
Yeah.
We do carry some ammo that has it's like a cross at the end of it.
Yeah,
it's just happenstance. But let's see. Chandra says that she crashed at 8 p.m. last night, woke up to 2 bloody scratches on the back of my neck this morning. No BS. See, when we were out here, so after we did our night investigation out here in the woods, we all went around the back we came back in, and then we went around the back of the lodge because Joe Purdue was making dinner for everybody over a campfire. And we were sitting around the campfire and hanging out. And I'm standing there, and I was with Chandra, wasn't I? I was with Chandra and you. We were standing out there talking, and all of a sudden I see this orange glowing thing like 40 feet above the lodge just fly across the sky and then just disappear. And we were seeing lights in the woods. We were seeing all kinds of stuff. And I honestly think that when you have a bunch of people centralized in one location that are into this weird stuff and are like really, really into it, and it just starts to manifest, you know, like there's this collective unconscious that's bringing it about, it's bringing it into our physical world. So I just seems like we had that weird like sighting. They got that thermal, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we
it was
started
odd.
seeing these crazy
Yeah.
lights everywhere. So
Do we watch Facts How to Hunt's channel? Yeah, I sometimes at this point in what we're doing, I don't consume a lot of, like, I guess you would call it cryptid or supernatural media. Um, I do for a few people, and I know that like a lot of the storyteller accounts and storyteller channels and all that, there's good information there. It's just a lot to wade through. That's why I always appreciate it if there's like a really like useful or a really impactful story that's when it goes over, you know, people copying on us. I really appreciate that because I don't have time to like watch a lot of it every day. Because a lot of the stuff that we're doing it takes a lot of research for, man. You know, I mean, this is again, like the thing with infrasound, that's not anything I went to college for. I mean, that's I'm having to kind of learn a lot of this stuff from the ground up, but and that doesn't leave a lot of time for other stuff. So I always appreciate it when like particular episodes happen with these other channels, and
yeah,
it's something really kind of like out there. When people copy me on it, you know, it really helps out a lot. So yeah, so if there's but we are familiar with them. We just don't watch it on a regular basis. So and again, it's not because of a preference thing. It's just a time thing at this point. So
going back to the ritual thing, rituals are good. Thanks for answering my questions. I'm getting more inspired by y'all's adventures. I may start my own soon. That would be awesome. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. We want more people to go out there and do this kind of
yeah,
work.
safe, as long as you can do it safely. And the other thing that we talk about too is that if you're, it's an expensive hobby, you know what I'm saying, or full-time job or whatever you want to call it. If you're going to spend the money and like get stuff, learn how to use it, learn what it does. I mean, we've seen people go, this is a tri-field meter. It measures magnetic fields, you know, electromagnetic fields, RF, and everything like that. It doesn't measure sound. And we've seen people go, oh, I used this and picked up infrasound. Well, that's physically impossible. There's no way to do it. That's like saying you took your toaster out to the woods and picked up infrasound on it. But you know, just do it. If you do it, like I said, just be safe. Um, Regardless of what your personal opinions are, we always go armed, always go together. We carry a personal locator beacon, you know, to kind of parrot those missing 411 suggestions back to people. And you know, that's what's frustrating a lot of times, because we'll hear people that are in different parts of the country and they're like, I want to do this. I just don't need anybody to do it with, you know, and I don't really recommend anybody doing this alone. And just kind of know your limitations. But if it's something you're interested in and you can find a partner, and let's say you don't have a lot of experience in the woods, that's one of the things too we talked about, just like the new availability of tech. If you are interested in going out and you don't have a lot of experience in the woods, there are people out there that will teach you how to do that. You know, you pretty much any part of the country, if you're looking into getting like basic survival skills or basic outdoor skills, there's a place for you there to learn them.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's the thing we always chime in, man. You know, if you're going to do it, break new ground, do what you want to do. Don't go out to the KOA campground and just walk
Do
around
the
banging them.
same old stuff.
Do the same old stuff, man. You know, take a novel approach to it.
Do it to where it's unique to you, and I think that you will find that it's more fulfilling. It's more personally fulfilling. More people will enjoy watching you do it.
And if you're nature and you're more predisposed to taking crystals out to the woods and playing a flute, knock yourself out.
Go for it.
Do
Hell
it.
yeah.
If you want to go out there and you want to take a hardcore scientific look at it, do it. Knock yourself out.
Go for it.
Do whatever you are kind of led to. Just be honest with it, and then just try to go out. And because again, the more varied approaches we have, the better. You know,
Yeah.
It's if we have everybody in a lockstep, all trying the same thing, all thinking the same thing, we're
getting nowhere.
We're doing a disservice to it. So,
Jonestead Farm. I know we're jumping back and forth on topics with people input, but it's kind of similar. We're talking about praying to be released when you're dealing with this stuff. It's kind of similar to sleep paralysis phenomenon, which I've experienced twice. Feeling paralyzed, seeing or sensing something unknown, and many use prayer to break its grip. I have done that before. I have personally done that several times when I've had sleep paralysis and the night hag phenomenon, that I've used that before to break that, because that's the first and only thing I can think to do. You're completely powerless physically, so you just use the power of prayer to get out of that, and that seems like it works.
And it's worked throughout history.
It's worked throughout history.
You can take reports, well, not reports, but you can take folklore of people back in, you know, centuries ago in at least Western Europe, where people have gone, I went out in the middle of the night and I saw these things, and some of them were very tall and skinny, and others were short, and there was a bright light, and I was paralyzed, and they were coming towards me, and I began to pray, and then I was free. You see this with like fairy folklore, and not the Disney-fied fairies, but I'm talking the original kind of grim cautionary tales that people would share. A folklore is basically a roadmap of people who've been there and done that on how you should act or what you should do in these circumstances. And then you see those parallels with alien abductions, people who have woken up with things in their room that we would consider like the alien grays, and they've started to pray and the activity stopped.
Yeah.
We've seen that with Dogman encounters.
Mhm.
People have felt that they were in danger and have seen these creatures and started praying, and it's repelled them. So what is that? Is there a spiritual aspect to it? Is it just the power of intent? I don't know. But again, it's odd that there definitely seems to be, and I that's something I want to chime in. We try to be very tech heavy. We recognize that there's a appears to be a spiritual aspect to this.
I mean,
as well,
I'm mostly the one that hits home, that
Yeah.
drives that point home. But I think that's why you and I work very well together, is that you and I have different focuses, and we have different affinities and different strengths, you know. And I think that we complement each other very well when it comes to that. Dewey's going to bed.
Good night,
Number
Dewster.
one. Another thing, Jersey says, I'm going to do a bunch of unsafe shit alone in the woods, and it's because of Hellbent Holler. Oh gosh. Thanks, dude. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We're like, okay, somebody's gonna die on our
on our like nighttime
on our
excursion, and we're
nighttime
just,
excursion.
yeah. Did you hear Hellbent Holler got somebody killed in the woods of West Virginia? So, all right, let me kind of catch up here and see what else.
Well, you know what? Then we can just hunt that person's ghost.
Yeah,
so.
exactly right. You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
It's a twofer. You know, so
modern problems require modern solutions.
So, all right, let's see what we have got. I'm almost caught up with the chat.
Yeah. How late did you want to go on this?
We'll go for a little bit longer. We still
We'll
got
go
some
for a
people in
little
here.
bit longer.
Like I said, I miss doing this with people and kind of getting on and interacting with everybody. A lot of people talking about having prayer to release them from like entities and whatnot. So,
Dumpster diving Dogman. I think Joe said, take your crystals and flute in the woods and have a good old time. Everyone triple drink. Oh, Lord. I am going to take a small break. I'm gonna leave Joe here with you people.
yeah, leave me in here with
for
it. So,
5 seconds. I'm gonna run over here. What's cool about this place is we have so much room that we don't have to like ease out like at our studio at home. It's
Yeah.
very small, so we have to kind of like ease out really slowly. But here we just kind of get up and like move freely.
Anyway, all right, let's see what we got here. Cross type bullet design. Yeah, we've got we carry extreme penetrators from Underwood, and we also carry like hard cast 10mm ammo, because that's one of the things that always that I always am curious about. People will talk about shooting some of these things and not having any effect on them. Is I'm always just like, what do they shoot them with? You know, a lot of people carry like 9mm hollow points in their carry pieces. These things might have something similar to like, you know, similar skin to like maybe a rhinoceros. Maybe it's affecting them, but it's just not affecting them to the degree that you could see it. What's happening after the encounter's over? Are these things like dropping dead later on? What's going on with it? But yeah, we carry hard cast ammunition, 10mm, similar to what like grizzly guides would carry. We just figured that's our best bet. We hear stories about people, you know, taking out like long arms like that all the time. We got a lot of stuff to juggle. We've got to balance everything, but we definitely don't go out unarmed. We make sure that we're trying to as protected as much as possible then. So, and let's see here. Have you guys come across, sorry about that. Have you guys come across wild dogs in your investigations? Yeah, actually where we live at, there's a patch of woods nearby that used to have several packs of several, like three packs of wild dogs running around in it. But yeah, we've come across wild dogs. We've come across coyotes. We have come across, not as often as what I would expect, but like feral hogs and whatnot. One of the areas we investigate is up near the Pisgah Bear Sanctuary. So we see bear, we see bear sign, scat, markings on trees, stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely run across natural animals in the woods on at a fairly regular basis, but we've done it. Zach said, y'all want to see that bad Taylor, Mississippi. We keep hearing about Taylor, Mississippi. I mean, I'm familiar with all the same like lore, but what we can't find is that anyone who's going, I'm in Taylor, Mississippi, I'm having current activity, you can come to this property and look into it. We can't
basically
find,
at this point with the whole Taylor, Mississippi thing is we've not heard any direct accounts. We don't have anybody saying that they are experiencing anything there directly. It seems to be like a lot of hearsay from the internet, where people are just repeating that they.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's something going on. It's just that we
need a direct contact.
Yeah, we need either public land that's having current activity or accessible private land that's having current activity with the landowner's permission to come on and look at it. But I mean, that's one of the places we'd love to go to. I'd like to look into it and see it for ourselves. Like I said, I mean, we've heard a lot of people talk about it, and where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sure there's something going on there. It's just that we haven't had the right lead to go look into it yet. So,
there's Jules says, I just purchased Martin Grove's book. Thanks for the knowledge that he has one on Amazon. Yeah, look up Martin Grove's, and it's called The Beast Between the Rivers. And if you would like to read his account, it's very compelling. It's a very, very good read. Make sure you buy that on Amazon to support Martin Grove's and get his story out there.
Shelley Vidal said, I did listen to a story today that had me on the edge of my seat. He swore that these things are flesh and blood, and he did kill it. There's reports out there of these things being killed. There's other reports out there of people saying that they shot it and nothing happened. Whatever we caught on the LBL, which at least the part we caught resembles the witness accounts of Dogman in that area, was giving off body heat. It was physical. The other thing that we saw there that didn't look like it moved branches, so it was physical, but it was gone like in just the blink of an eye. So I don't know. For every story you find that they're invulnerable to firearms, now you're starting to hear people talk about killing them, and not just these crazy, I'm a government agent that hunts, cryptids and, but I'm just going to sit here and tell you all about it, even though it's top secret.
Joe from Michigan's in the chat. So
yeah.
Speaking
Joe
of
from
which,
Michigan, shot one. And his story's just right there. It's plain. It's extremely credible. His story about shooting one. So I don't know if I'm familiar with the one that you're talking about, Shelley. If you want to send us the link to it, I'd love to hear it. So, oops, I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Nope, you go ahead. Would go.
Okay. Alan Lasser, how do we get in touch with you all about starting up a research, the do's and don'ts? We're not experts on these creatures, entities, phenomena. We're pretty conversant in like some of the research techniques and some of the equipment.
Yeah, so it's basically going to be, like I said, I have the information kind of put together. I'd like to expound upon it. I don't know if I want to do sort of a field research guidebook, or if I want to do a video, or what I want to do.
If you have some questions, you can just reach out to us.
Yeah, you can always ask us questions, but I don't know how exactly I want to put the information that we've kind of like put together ourselves and learned over the years of doing this. I haven't decided quite yet how I'm going to dispense that to the public in a way.
But if you have a particular question, or if
we're happy to answer it.
Just helmetholler@gmail.com.
Yep, we're happy to
and we'll answer it to the best of our ability on there. So,
BT said, hi, did you ever set up recording devices and leave them for a time? Can the sound or recording device pick up levels we can't? Okay. Yes, we have done long duration recorder setups. We built one of those, and it can go, what's the duration on that? We've left it for a few days before.
It can go a couple weeks.
Yeah.
They make, wildlife biologists make like little boxes that you mount onto trees that have batteries, and they're weatherproof, and they're recording devices, but they're like $500 to $1,000 a piece. So
yeah,
we've built one. off a 12-volt battery and tried to weatherproof it as best we can. It's weatherproof.
We actually put it in a Harbor Freight
like
ammo
plastic
can.
ammo can, and then weatherproofed it, and then ran an exterior microphone to it. We do that. We also use the drop microphones that we do. We carry a bunch of, I don't have any of them down here with me, but we carry a bunch of small, just digital recorders. So if we're in an area and something's happened, we've heard something or thought we saw something, but we're ready to move out and nothing's going on, we'll turn it on and we'll leave it there. Sometimes we leave it in plain sight. Sometimes we try to hide it. We kind of bury it. And then we come back and get it like a few hours later or the next day. We mark it on our GPS. And we had some really weird stuff last time we were out.
Yeah, so we were out in North Georgia in our research area that we've been going to for years now. And this was last week. This was before we left for the conference and everything like that. We were out doing a field expedition investigation. And we were having some kind of weird stuff going on. It was around that tree where the quartz was, but I'll have the video out. But we got some really weird audio, like really weird audio. We still have to finish analyzing it, but it's some real weird stuff. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Daniel Garcia, what are your thoughts about Indrid Cold, the Smiling Man? There's really not again, we focus more like into the South, and we have I'm familiar with it. I'm just not conversant about it.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not, there are people out there that are really in depth in like all the stuff that surrounded the Mothman and that particular part of the country. I don't know enough about it to speak about it convincingly, other than just like a real basic stuff that I've
the Mothman phenomenon it's interesting, but it's not something that we focus on at all. Yeah. I think it's pretty regional to West Virginia.
Deer in headlights, feral humans and I'm assuming you're talking about pale crawlers are the new thing. The pale crawlers are basically the same thing as like a lot of the goblin activity, you know, the Dover demon, the Hopkinsville goblins.
They share a lot of the same characteristics.
These pale, hairless like things that seem to be subterranean. I think there's definitely something there. So, you know, I get this real quick. If you go to Taylor, the thing to be afraid of, it will be law enforcement. Vault has said the same thing to us, and I've heard the same thing from people. But like I said, it's you know, we want to try it ourselves. I mean, I take the warnings, and I take them to heart, and that's great. But we're still going to try to go investigate it ourselves. If we get and guess what, we might come back and go, couldn't get anything done, guys. You know, we got ran out of town by the cops.
Yeah. Also, there's a town where you drive through and you get arrested. I don't understand like that.
Yeah, we're gonna go.
That doesn't sound accurate to me.
Yeah. So I mean, it's but we're gonna go.
But if you get arrested, apparently there's a law that you're not allowed to drive through town. Sure.
Yeah, and trust me, I mean, we go into small mountain towns all the time.
We drove all around some hollers today.
We're from rural southern areas ourselves, man. That's where we grew up at and everything like that. And I understand that even if you're from a small rural southern area and you go into another small, so you're still an outsider. Do you know what I'm saying? So I completely understand that. I know some places just don't like new people around. But
and they know you're an outsider. You know, you've like Logan here. Logan has a population of, I think, 1,400 people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pretty sure everybody knows everybody. So they know that you're an outsider, right out the gate. BJ Allen says, "Thank you guys and Martin for yesterday. I enjoyed learning about the land between the lakes." Well, thank you for attending. Thank you for listening to my presentation and joining us up here. It was a great weekend. I really enjoyed yesterday. It was wonderful to have Martin come on and talk with me. And thank you for coming and thank you for listening. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, and if anybody has any stuff on Taylor, if you're in and around the Taylor's area, or you have friends or family who are there and they're having activity and they're open to people coming out and looking into it, we can make it happen.
Yeah, we just need kind of a legit starting point, not just internet conversation, which that's fine. That's sort of a starting point, but we need a direct starting point, not just we heard on the internet that this place has activity.
Yeah, and like I said, again, I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. There's definitely something going on. There's,
you know, there's mounds, there's earthworks and stuff in the area. So there's no telling what, you know, there's a lot of history there perhaps, but we don't have a direct sighting. We don't have a direct contact. We don't have a starting point.
BT, I meant on playback from a recording device. Can a recorder pick up other frequencies if they analyze the playback? It's going to depend upon the type of recorder and the microphone that's on there. Certain microphones will pick up a certain frequency range. They'll have a baseline and then an upper level that they can pick up. And that's dependent upon the recorder. As far as can like the standard recorders that we use pick up infrasound, and I think that's maybe what you're going with. No, they can't. We had to get specialized equipment to go below 20 hertz. So it's funny too, because you also need to generate infrasound. It takes a bit to do it. Because I want to go out in the woods and pump infrasound out and see what happens. Maybe something else will detect the infrasound I'm putting out and come up to investigate it. It's really difficult to do and be able to get it, transport it out into the woods and set it up at this point.
Mhm.
But the recorders we have, the general drop recorders, no, they can't pick that up. They're designed to pick up stuff within the human range of hearing. So I hope that answers your question there.
Martin
So.
Groves. Joe, I did have a priest
Praise-
bless those
that's
10
awesome.
millimeter I gave you. Thank you, Martin. Of
That
course
is
you
awesome.
did.
Of course you did. All right. So
Good night, Stephanie Light. I see that you're leaving. Good night. It is getting late. It's Sunday night.
we're gonna wrap it up in a few minutes. If they see your equipment, they will stop you. Again, I'm not doubting that or disproving that.
Equipment.
But basically, I understand that if they
see your equipment, they will stop you. I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, I'm just
like, are they, so any car from out of town, they stop.
That's what people say, that if they see
an
non-local
they
plates,
stop it and they search you for Bigfoot and Dogman equipment.
And they might.
And
guess what? I mean, we'll go check it out. That might be what happens. But again, a lot of this stuff is a lot of the purpose of what we do is to investigate stuff for ourselves and not just rely upon what other people tell us. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? I hear that repeatedly about Taylor. There's probably something to that. That doesn't mean that we're going to stay away and not go look into it if we get a good lead, though, at this point.
Yeah.
So
if we get a good lead, we will follow that lead. Rob S says, I heard they moved from Tennessee to Taylor, Mississippi, summer to winter. They summer in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Or they summer in Tennessee, I guess.
I've seen that migration map that I think it was Dark Water set that up.
Yeah.
So he had like a migration map where he was coming on it. So this is
Aha. BT, like and subscribe. These two are so
you.
lovable and real. Thanks for the work you do. Thank you. We're lovable. See, we've never heard that before. Yeah. Thank you.
Shelley Ball says, I'm sure there's hoaxes all the time. There are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
but it's okay. I mean, it's okay because if you have like 10 hoaxes, okay. But you don't want to dissuade anybody from coming out with their story just because there's a hoax.
I would rather deal with some hoaxes and hear that one good piece of information.
It's better than 10 guilty men go free.
Yeah, exactly.
Than one innocent man go to prison.
And people hoax. We're aware of that. You know what I'm saying? And but not everybody's hoaxing. There's not that many people out there that are going to. It's not the overwhelming majority of people out there hoaxing, but hoaxes do happen. They absolutely happen. So.
Free Press says they'll give you the TSA booty grab and cold finger treatment. Yes, okay. Let's take a moment here. Let's think through these things. Let's say the police stop you if you're from out of town, okay? And then they search your car for Dogman equipment, I guess.
And there are areas where they don't want outsiders in, small towns, and if there is activity in that area. We've heard about areas that have had activity and they get descended upon. Remember the Lizard Man, Skateboard Swamp.
Yeah, and then I know that, and listen, we're proponents of the idea of a government cover-up as well. So it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I will give you that. It's a possibility. I guess we're just gonna have to see.
We're gonna have to see. I mean, we're just gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go look for ourselves, man.
Looks like I'm gonna be wearing a body cam.
Yeah, I mean, and
apparently I'm getting searched on the highway for my.
And it's the same thing with everything else we talk about. It's that if
stop citizen, isn't that a tri-field?
But if someone is telling you that you have to just take their word for it and you're not supposed to look into it for yourself, just us, anybody else. If anybody ever tells you that, just question it, man. I mean, again, that's our thing, is that everybody should be looking into this. If a lot of these stories are very sensational and they're crazy to listen to and all of that, but you know, this has become the Martin Grove show, like it always does. Martin Groves and I have had disagreements on infrasound. He thinks that infrasound's what hit it, and it might be. And you know what? He's at least open to hearing me out, and I'm open to hearing him out. And he's willing to go with me and look into it to see what it is. And I'm willing that if I go there and I go, holy crap, there's a ton of infrasound here, you know. But nobody should be afraid of having these things checked out, or their stories like looked into, or not to try to bust anybody or anything like that. That's not what we're saying, but look into it. I mean, we need people diving into this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, we need people looking into it, and we don't even call ourselves like researchers. We like to investigate stuff. We like to look into stuff, and you know, looking into the stuff's a spider web. A lot of times you go into one direction, then you veer off in another direction, then veer off in another direction. Stuff's not linear. But just like the Taylor, Mississippi stuff, I mean, I understand the stories, but I think the moment that we stop looking into this stuff, because we've been warned off, you know, that, you know, here there be dragons type thing, you know, don't go into that part of the map, you know. I mean, you've got to be willing to go in and look at stuff like that, you know. And I mean, we'll be cautious, but again, if we get a good line on it, we're going to go check it out.
Yep.
So, you know.
Here's a good suggestion. We'll flash our Hellbent holler badges.
Yeah, man, we need badges.
Excuse me.
So, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I have been waterboarded by a small town cop. This is my
Jersey's been like that. Yeah.
This
man.
is my story. Oh Lord. All right, guys. It's been a day.
And Zach I understand that. They're going to ask you what you're doing, and they're known for telling folks. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt with you. Okay. I keep hearing this, but where's the person that goes, I have video footage of this happening. I hear this. I hear that it's just one of these oft-time repeated tropes. And I'm going to tell you right now, the one thing that gets me is that when people keep telling me the same thing over and over again, I want to, all right, then fine. You know what I'm saying? I got hit with infrasound. I got infrasound. Cool. I'm going to test for infrasound. If I'm going to go into Taylor, Mississippi, and they're going to arrest me for coming into a town, you know what I'm saying? We're not broke. You know what I'm saying? You know, we'll get a lawyer and we'll fight it. And guess what? They can take me into a court of law and tell me why that I was arrested for coming into town with a tri-field meter and a camera. And maybe that's how we get some answers, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, what are you trying to hide? I mean, again, and it might be true. I'm not saying that it's not true, but we'll have to find out. We're there for
Dogman. They're gonna plant
and
all
there might
kinds
be,
of stuff
and you know
on
what?
us.
There might very well be, because we recognize that there's a certain level of government cover-up.
Yes, and interference
on several different levels, local level, upper federal level. But you know what? You know, like I said, I mean, it's
LBL can't afford the cops, I guess, or they would start harassing.
I'm just
people.
Gonna say it right now. If that's going on, that means it's even more imperative to look into that area.
Yeah,
yeah.
What are you hiding?
So, yeah, exactly. So if it's going on that badly in that area, that means there's definitely something to hide, and that means that's the place where somebody needs to be looking. So we're gonna go try it out, you know. And I'm not saying that anybody's lying. That might very well be the case, but you know, we'll scout it out without our stuff and go in there and get the lay of the land, and then come back, you know, a little bit better prepared to look into stuff. So
little do they know, I enjoy being waterboarded. So joke's on
exactly.
you.
But like I said, I want to, if that's the case, then that's the spot we need to be looking in.
David Hunt says, tell them you know Vault and you'll be good. Hello, police officer. I know the Vault of Nightmares.
So
please release me.
So yeah, we're gonna go check it out. You know, we'll go check it out. We'll see what happens. But again, and we've talked about. I mean, somebody says right here, we've talked to Vault. We've talked to Dark Waters about some of the coordinates he has for certain areas. And you know, we're really interested in looking into areas with current ongoing activity. You know, better yet, if it's current ongoing activity that there's a history of it in that area. But yeah, we've talked to these guys. Like I said, it's just that, you know, we're looking for cases that are more compelling than the area in North Georgia that we're looking into, and more compelling than the LBL. And like I said, there's a possibility of looking into some of those spots down the road, definitely. So. Well, Zach, I'm sorry you feel that way, that my YouTube cockiness is at an all-time high.
The YouTube cockiness.
If me saying that we want to go there and investigate it, and if there's a cover-up, that means that needs to be the place where looking into is YouTube cockiness.
And it's okay to make a joke on a live stream.
It's okay to make a joke, man. And like I said, if it bothers you like that, I don't know what to tell you. If you're telling me right now that you have gone there personally and you have been stopped and they have done all of these things to you, then tell me that, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing general. I mean, and again, I think again, if the bluntness bothers you, I don't want to tell you. I'm not trying to attack anybody, but this is real activity that's going on. These are real things, and yeah, like I said, that might be the case. I don't know. If anybody is offended because we are wanting to go look into an area,
yeah, because
I don't understand where the offense comes from.
So it goes from you need to check out Taylor, Mississippi to don't go. The police will stop.
Exactly.
So,
and it's like people get offended that we go out in the woods looking for things. You're going to get killed. You know, again, we could get killed crossing the street. We get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
It's just like people take offense to the fact that you want to look into this stuff. And we're not looking into it to disprove it. We're looking into it because we know it's happening and we want to prove it's happening, you know? I mean, so we're not attacking it, you know? We don't, you know, think that people that contact us with encounters are lying. We know that they're telling the truth.
Yes, and if you contact us with an encounter, we will look into it.
Yeah, and we want to try to bring, you know, some of this stuff to like the light of day, you know, just like having Martin Groves talk to a bunch of Bigfoot people about his Dogman and Bigfoot encounter, but, you know, trying to spread that stuff, man. So, again, like I said, I'm sorry you feel that way, man, but I mean, like I said, we're not going to be warned off from a particular spot. If we get a good case there, we're going to go check it out, you know. So
Jersey says Joe will prove Dogman exists in traffic court. They can't handle the truth, Joe. Show them the fools the data. Yeah.
Hey, and I understand that. And you know what? I'm sure they'll be extra nosy and have an attitude. And I appreciate the heads up, you know. But like I said, I mean, and we don't have any plans on going to Taylor right now. But if we ever get a good lead, I mean, we're going to go check it out. You know? And I understand that. We'll go with their heads up, and I appreciate the heads up on it. And Vault has told us similar stuff. But like I said, if we get a good one, we're going to go in. There's an area in North Georgia we go to where there's a really good chance that the local police department's involved, and I'm not going to go in too deep in it, but they're involved in somewhat of a cover up on one element of this. And it's disturbing, and it puts a whole nother level of difficulty into it. And we have to approach it a different way, but we're still approaching it. So, you know,
one guy goes, now we all want to go to Taylor. Free press goes, they can't frisk us all. So this is going to be a storm Area 51
thing. We're going to storm Taylor, Mississippi.
All right,
so
we're storming Taylor, Mississippi.
We're storming Taylor, Mississippi, y'all. We're all going to meet up. They can't stop us all. So, all right.
We're going to get the Dogman one way or another.
It's all bum rush Taylor, Mississippi.
Yeah.
There you go, man. So we actually have a friend who went to that. So, yeah.
They probably have like 4 cops, right?
Who knows? But again, here's the deal, that there might very well be an ongoing active cover up there. And there might very well be, again, when there's smoke, there's fire. There might very well be people there that don't want people coming around looking into that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And we talk about this all the time.
And it might very well be impossible for us to get in there and look around. We might get literally hassled so much we can't do it.
Yeah.
But we're going to take the warnings to heart, and we're going to go in cautiously. But if we ever have, and now it sounds like we're going to Taylor, Mississippi, like really soon, which we're not, but
as a spite thing.
Yeah. But I mean, it's, you might be right. We might come back and go, yeah, you can't get in there and take a serious look at it. You know, they will hassle you for everything. They're stopping you for, you know, checking your registration, doing everything like that. And that
pick up that can, citizen.
So, yeah. But it's just,
Storm Taylor. Grace W is on for Storm Taylor.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Grace is signing
Taylor,
up.
Mississippi. So, but anyway, yeah, like I said, I mean, who knows? It might be, I don't know. And like I said, it's, we went to the LBL not expecting anything, and we found stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and actually we were planning that summer to try to hit Taylor as well, but we just couldn't find an actionable lead in Taylor. We've heard all the same stuff. We've heard all the same like YouTube accounts and everything like that. But we could never find that one person that just went, hey, I've got like 40 acres here. I'm having like ongoing Dogman activity. This is what's happened. This is what's happened. Somebody please, you know, if you want to come look into it, you know. I mean, like Vault had put that thing out where he would take people in. I don't think he's got access to that land anymore, you know. And he shared some other areas with us privately that we might look into down the road. that carried similar warnings. He's like, listen, you've got to go in, you've got to be very, very subtle and not draw a lot of attention. And, you know, similar warnings
Look
to it.
at us.
And we'll take
We're nothing but
but
subtle.
exactly. So
I have one.
okay.
Where'd it go? Oh, this is actually serious. I know we're having fun. This is all jokes and fun.
Yeah.
Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, was the LBL massacre a real event? I'm sure that it was covered up. Yeah, I think it was a real event. I think it actually happened. I think some of the details have been convoluted and lost in the telephone game of time and witnesses and accounts and everything like that. But I think that something happened. There's definitely something going on in the LBL. We know for a fact there's something going on there because we've seen it with our own eyes. We've gathered data on this. But I don't know if the massacre, as it has been told, occurred in such a way. We don't know. There's no way for us to back up those claims. There's no way for us to get that data in a certain way. But I think some of the details are wrong. But I think something definitely occurred. I think definitely there are definitely missing people. There are definitely bodies are being found on the LBL. So there's something going on there, and there's a lot more missing people than we know about right now publicly. Yeah, what?
I think that a family was killed in and around 1982, and they were either camping or they were in an RV. I think that the Jan Thompson story that was out was either distorted before she got to it, or maybe she misunderstood some of the details, or was distorted after she told it. And again, there are certain things that you'll never be able to confirm about that entire account. Okay. That's just impossible. And trust me, I've watched all of the stuff with people arguing with the supposed massacre survivor, arguing, you know, I saw Jody Cook, you know, discuss it with him, you know, and Jody Cook is somebody, I'm going to say this right now. We don't think that the massacre took place in the supposed massacre spot. And we have another location that we thought that was a real good possibility for it. And then we had never seen Jody Cook's documentary. And Jody Cook came to some similar conclusions that we did, but he came to them before we did. You know what I'm saying? And you've got to, regardless of your personal feelings on Jody Cook, we admit it he beat us to the punch on some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's true or it's not true, but some of the theories we had, saw that documentary. I just went, wow, Jody Cook figured this out like years before we did. Some of the stuff's not verifiable. Some of the stuff is verifiable. And it's a whole kettle of fish. It's going to be a big thing. But because even more so than the infrasound thing, man, people get fired up about the 82 massacre and some of the stuff that's been said recently about it. And it's a very polarizing topic. And you know, one of the things we go into, we discussed some of the Kentucky victims of what we think might be possible Dogman predation in the presentation that Jessi did. We don't mention them by name. You know what I'm saying? We try not to, we will mention them by name sometimes talking about this, but we were talking to a group of strange people, you know, try to be sensitive to the people involved because there are real human victims to this.
Yeah, there is a human, there's a human toll about this.
But let's go through the story real quick. And I know we're running a little bit late right now. We've still got some people on. But 1982, a family, and let's go with the original story. 1982, a family of 4, mother, father, son, daughter, get into an RV and go into an RV campsite on the northern end of the land between the lakes. They go sometime in late winter, early spring, and they set up in an area which is commonly thought to be next to a cemetery that's there on the northern end of the peninsula. And they set up camp there. While they're setting up camp, or shortly after they set up camp, apparently this campground, an RV campground, is deserted in one of the busier times of the year for LBL. For those of you who have been to the LBL or living in and around the LBL, usually by the time spring comes around, the few organized camping grounds are fairly busy. Okay. Usually the only people that are in the LBL during certain parts of the year are in these structured campgrounds where you have amenities. You have water, you might have power hookups, you might have RV hookups, okay? But supposedly there was a campground in the northern end of the LBL where these people went and took their RV, and that's where they were attacked and killed. And supposedly there was a cover-up that took place after that, correct? So if there's a cover-up, you're not going to be able to find out the people's names. You're not going to be able to find out a death certificate for the people's names. You can look down those avenues and you might have better luck than we have. Okay. There are counties around there that are surrounding the LBL. And if it was a local response to that, those coroner's offices would have been the ones that came in. True?
Correct.
And you can't get any information from there. Now, does that mean that there's information to be had and it's covered up? I don't know. So you can't confirm that or deny it. That's something that's just part of the story that you can't confirm. So you can't confirm that there was a family. You can't confirm that there was a death. You can't confirm that there was a cover-up because that's the nature of a cover-up. It's been covered up, right? What can you confirm about that story? You can confirm some stuff about that story.
The existence of a campground.
Existence of a campground on the northern end of the LBL. You could confirm that. You could confirm that. You could confirm that. It's going to take a lot of digging, but you could confirm it. There's a few different ways you could confirm it. Let's say you're a police officer and you are investigating a crime. There's a bank robbery.
Oh no, not this analogy.
Exactly. I love this analogy. You're investigating a crime. There's been a bank robbery. You got a suspect. Did you rob this bank? Couldn't have robbed this bank, man. I got an alibi. What's your alibi? I was in a diner on 10th Street. I was there at 12:30 p.m. on the day this bank got robbed, supposedly at the same time. I went into this diner on 10th Street. I sat down. I ordered a cheeseburger and fries. My waitress's name was Ruth. I had a piece of apple pie for dessert. My bill was $15.85. I tipped her $5.15. You know, gives all this detail. And you're like, wow, this guy can't be a suspect. His story is pitch perfect. And then you go and you realize that there's no diner on 10th Street at all. So someone's going to have a complete recollection of facts and then get an extremely important fact horribly wrong.
The fact that starts the entire story. It's the location
wrong.
Of the story.
So draw from that what you will. We think that there was a massacre that happened. I don't think the Jan Thompson account happened the way that it was described as far as like an RV campground.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for it.
Look into it yourselves.
Look into it for yourselves. And again, and there's certain things you won't be able to confirm, but there are things you can confirm. And if you dig well enough and long enough, you'll confirm them. We might eventually do a show on it and show some of the stuff that we've dug up. And I'm sure that some people, well, apparently we're going to do a show on it. And some people are going to look at it and just go, how dare you disrespect? And we're not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but we're trying to figure out where to, to focus our own attention in an area that we know has activity. The LBL has activity. We've experienced activity there. We have spoken to people who have activity there. We know that there are people that have gone missing and dead there, but I don't think that pivotal 1982 story happened the way that
I'm laughing because Jersey goes, Joe has 2 more hours in him. How long was his lecture slideshow?
So, but anyway.
Bullish Bowser goes, slap him, Jeff.
But yeah.
He said I look tired. I do look tired.
We are tired. We're cutting up.
It's been a long, we drove up here and we've just been going for days and days and days.
There are multiple families that have been killed. There's multiple people missing.
Yes.
I believe that there was a family killed in 1982 that was the genesis of this story. Definitely. Will we ever be able to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt? No. But there are certain things that you can disprove about it, which will maybe let some people, and you're a very serious researcher, Goshawk, as well. You want the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And like I said, it's just, I encourage anybody who's interested in that to just do your own digging. Don't take the word of us or anybody else on the internet.
Nope.
You can, with a little bit of digging, you can start to uncover stuff for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So,
all right. We have a lot of people who are going to bed. It is so late.
We are going to bed.
We're going to bed. We're beat. We got to clean up all of our equipment. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining us.
We appreciate it.
If anybody has anything else they want to talk about, Jessi hit him with the infrasound. That's what I did.
So yeah, I'm done. But
that's how I quiet him down. I infrasound him. But yes, thank you guys for joining us on this special edition of Hellbent Holler Live. We really enjoy when you guys join us for these live streams. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you tell your friends about our channel. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell, all of that good stuff. We really, really appreciate you guys watching us. Grace just sent us a $5 super
Thank you,
sticker.
Grace. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you.
So,
But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And we have never done a remote live before, so we
yeah,
wanted to
man,
kind
now
of
we got
see
the
how
bugs worked out on
we
it,
wanted
so
to see how the
yeah.
equipment worked, and if we could pack all the equipment up and then drive it all the way up here and then do stuff and then set it up and make it just
Yeah.
as good as it is at home. We don't have our awesome sign in back here, but
Yeah,
that's
so,
okay. This is a really cool hotel. So
yeah.
thank you guys for joining us as always. And I'm going to thank you, Chandra. We are going to travel safe. And then we might stop in at some cool spots, and I'll share some stuff on socials with that. Make sure you follow me at Jessi on Instagram. Make sure you like, share, subscribe the channel. We appreciate you guys joining us. Sorry if we got a little spicy. We get a little spicy sometimes.
Yeah.
We get riled up. It's all in good fun. We really enjoy the work that we do. Really enjoy talking to you guys and having you guys on here. We take this very seriously, obviously, but sometimes you have to kind of laugh, especially when you're exhausted. We're beat. This has been quite a weekend. We appreciate everybody who's traveled up here to see us over this weekend and talked to us and came to our table and watched me speak and watch Martin speak. That was really, really a joy and a pleasure. But thank you guys so much. We're going to cut out, and we're going to hopefully Patricia doesn't wake us up because we need some sleep.
We need some sleep.
This has been a long weekend. But
so.
as always, thank you guys. We're going to let you guys roll on here for a little bit, and I am going to take this down. But as always, thank you. We love you. You guys are awesome. Have a great evening.